queers. What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our journey with Gap. I almost said Gap the series. Blank the series. We're not randomly going back to Gap.
I didn't even know it is.
Sorry. I'm tired. We're doing Blank the series, and today we're going to be discussing one of the wildest episodes of anything ever in television, which is Season 1, Episode 4. The episode you're never ready for, ever.
Never, ever, ever. I was actually going to do a different intro for this, and I forgot, so never mind.
Now I want to know what the hell that was. We'll never know.
Something stupid. You never will. Alright, but before we get into this, just know that full reaction videos to this episode and the rest of the series will be on our Patreon, so go check that out. It's a wild, wild ride. Definitely. It's worth it. It's worth the $5 a month just for the reaction to this episode.
In Kaitlyn's humble opinion.
Not saying anything about myself whatsoever. I did great.
It's just the joy of watching this in real time. It's a journey. It's a journey.
I enjoy seeing other people's reactions to crazy shit like this. So, just saying. Also, go interact with us on all social media platforms at Big Gay Energy Pod, because we want to know what you think about these episodes, or jump into our Discord and have a conversation with us, because that would be awesome as well. All links are in the description. Yeah. Yep. So, go do that.
And if you make it to the end of this episode, Kaitlynn will give you a secret bonus word, which people have been doing. So, you guys are the best in the comments, especially when it's not in English. I love all the effort to either spell the word or translate it, for which we didn't ask you to do.
I did not expect people to translate it, though.
That was my favorite.
I'm like, okay, that's a cop-out. You're supposed to spell the Thai word.
It's okay. All participation is valid, and we love you and appreciate it. Thank you to all our superstar listeners that have been doing that. It's super entertaining.
Our Thai media fans are the reason why that segment was brought back, because I actually stopped doing it because no one was doing it, and then we randomly did it for a Gap episode, and people
started doing it again.
And I was like,
yeah. And then before we get into it, it's time to just hydrate for Faye. Let's just keep it 100.
Let's do that.
Hydrate for Faye.
Hydrate for Faye. That needs a theme song. Speaking of theme songs, I'm pretty sure I made up one for a segment that we do, but I don't remember the segment, and it might have been a dream. So
what the fuck? Okay, that sounds like something that could 100% be in this episode. So good job, Kaitlynn. You're already on brand for episode 104. I don't know. It could have been a dream. That's the energy.
That's the truth. All right, so let's start off with this episode.
Let's just get into it.
We are going to pick up with the craziest family reunion I think ever. Because,
ever?
What is this?
Unplanned family reunion. Put that word in there, too. It's not just I'm going to Thanksgiving to see my crazy relatives I hate. Nobody planned any of this. It just organically happened.
Also don't know that they're family. None of them. Actually, I think one person knows the relationship of everybody at this point.
Pingfa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our surprise guest, yeah.
Messy bitch who is she is the reason why all of this is happening.
You know what I noticed, though, while watching this? I've been watching more of season 1 to, do notes for this. Okay, so we mentioned in a prior episode that, because we keep over and over again saying, Little Nug, the confidence and the audacity, where does she get it from? The confidence comes from Chet. The audacity comes from Pingfa, and it starts here. This woman is all audacity and no chill.
Oh, I have that multiple times in my notes, and whenever I say that, I put it in all caps in the notes.
Yeah, so, capital letters. Yeah, she the audacity.
It's not just audacity, it's audacity.
Yeah. Audacity. audacity. So yeah, like, great job, writers, for, like, seriously, like, Little Nueng is an amalgamation of both of her parents. Like, the confidence and the audacity.
There are some times where Chet has some audacity as well.
He's just, like, clueless to everything other than himself, though.
Oh, yeah,
whereas,
that's
like,
fair.
Pinkfa knows, and it's just the audacity of Pinkfa. Anyway, didn't mean to jump ahead. That's a preview of where we're at. She is a messy,
selfish bitch. But
yes.
Anyway, back to the actual episode.
That was relevant. It's fine.
It is relevant. Okay, so we last ended episode 3
Matt?
with Pinkfa entering the room dramatically, and Little Nueng turning to her and be like, "Mom?" Which, I mean, we established we don't know how they know each other because they only talked on a phone very rarely. So,
right.
Whatever. But Big Nueng is now trying to clarify if Pinkfa is Little Nueng's mother. But that the messy bitch is too busy being coy and is like, "You haven't seen your friend in so long. You should at least ask how I'm doing." Like, really? But Big Nueng is sick of all the bullshit and is like, "Fine, I'll just leave though. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just gonna go that way, okay?" And but of course, Pinkfa, being the messy bitch, is like, "No, listen to what I have to say." And she says a lot, but anyway, she's like, "The world is so big. Who would have thought you two would know each other? You and Little Nueng." Then says, "Don't you want to know why I named my daughter Nueng?"
Yes, I've been asking that the whole show.
Yes, because if you, I don't even know how to just like say this, because like the audacity of this episode, first of all.
Yes, the audacity of this episode, absolutely.
But if you go on our social media, you will see a reaction of Theora telling me that they're both named Nueng.
When we did that, should we watch this? And I was like, yeah, Kaitlynn, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason.
It's like, what do you mean there's a reason? That's basically how the reaction for this episode went.
There's a reason.
No, I thought like maybe just a coincidence. But there's a reason for it. Like, I feel like the reason makes it worse.
Agreed. It's terrible. Also, anyway, to get into it, because what is this reason?
So, like, when she originally says, "Don't you want to know why I named my daughter Nueng?" You're like, well, shit. Because now she's playing coy with Big Nueng. So, Big Nueng is having the feelings that we all have. And she's like, "You named your daughter after me?" And it kind of reminds me of the Twilight. You named my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster. Like, that's what I'm picturing Big Nueng saying. Whatever. It made sense in my head.
What? If anyone else understood that, please let me know in the comments.
Please. I need to not be alone. Theora and I don't have the same references in media all the time.
When was the Loch Ness Monster in Twilight?
No, because he nicknamed... Okay, so Jacob, I believe, I believe this is the scene. I don't think I've ever seen it. I just know the reference. Jacob nicknamed Renesmee Nessie.
Oh.
And
I don't remember that from Twilight.
"You named my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?"
Oh. I don't remember that scene at all. I blocked out everything with Jacob in it because he's so annoying. Anyway.
See, okay. I blocked out Edward because he was annoying to me.
Basically just Kristen Stewart is my only memory of Twilight, because Kristen Stewart. She was gay even in that, so hey.
I think I watched it for Anna Kendrick, and then she wasn't in it that much.
No, she's like a hot second. I always forget she's in that movie.
So does she. Alright, so back to this show. All right, so Ping Fa goes over the explanation of why she named her daughter this. And she's like, we were such close friends in the past. And you're as smart as ever. Like, no shit. Big Nueng is, like, the smartest out of everyone. Let's be real.
Yes. I don't know. I think Little Nueng might rival her intelligence because she can, like, outmaneuver Big Nueng, which is impressive.
And is it just me? Or does Ping Fa talk in riddles? Something like that. Because everything she says, you have to, like, read into. And it's just the weirdest way to speak.
I think she is. Because this is her, like, long game master revenge plan. And she's a petty bitch. This is where Little Nueng also gets her pettiness from, is from Ping Fa. She's like, I've been waiting 84 years to get back at you, Nueng. And here we are. So I'm going to savor every second of this, of you being confused. I'm going to let that guilt sink in and crush you. That's what she's waiting. She's like, I've been waiting, so I'm just going to take my time crushing you under the weight of your own, like, guilt and shit. So I think that's why she's, like, not being straightforward, because she's like, I've been waiting for this. Like, so never piss off Little Nueng is what I'm saying.
She is rivaling Taylor Swift right now.
Right, no, they have the Taylor Swift gene. I think I have that in there somewhere. This is some Taylor Swift shit. Like, this whole thing. This is some Taylor Swift shit, what Ping Fa is doing. And Little Nueng acts just like her, like she's got the pettiness. She does it later in the series.
Oh, ma. Man. Oh, ma. That's all I got. But... so why is Little Nueng named Ah Nueng? So basically, Ping Fa named her that to remind herself of the disappointment that Big Nueng left her.
What?
And what is this disappointment? I'm so glad you asked, Theora.
I was wondering.
Okay, so we get this really great flashback to when they are teenagers, where we find out that Ping Fa was in love with Big Nueng. And, like, first of all, who is it? Like,
right, no, relatable,
Big
girl.
Also has the both of us in...
Big
I don't
Nueng.
even know what the Big Nueng. That's all we got.
Big Nueng.
Big Nueng. But Big Nueng did not reciprocate those feelings, at least out loud. I don't know. I feel like if Big Nueng was more accepting of herself back then, I think something would have happened. I think something might have happened as in a little experiment for Big Nueng. Let's be real. I'm just saying.
Well, Nueng does have an experiment, but it's just not with Ping Fa. It's with Dr. Juan Viva. Off screen. Like, it happens in the books.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, when Little Nueng later on is jealous, she has every right to be jealous.
Please put Faye in a fair.
In a fair? I know I would die if Faye just showed up.
In a fair. And I need, because, like, no one else is allowed to play Nueng now.
No, that's like, sacrilegious now.
I will be pissed.
No, I would love that if Faye just randomly showed up. Just for, like, a hookup scene and then Emmy-worthy content right there.
That's amazing. But during this conversation between little Big Nueng and little Ping Fa...
yeah, I know. Little Big Nueng and little Ping Fa.
It's like big little...
Wait,
large,
is she medium Nueng? Is she medium Nueng now?
No, medium Big Nueng is in the next flashback.
Got it. Just trying to keep it straight for the people at home without the visuals. Nothing about this is straight, though, I will just say. In any sense of that word. It's a hot mess. This slowly becomes the meme from It's So Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie's trying to explain the conspiracy theory at work, and he's, like, coked out and, like, has, like, the board, and it's Pepe, like, that whole thing. That's this, trying to explain this, you're like, what the fuck was Ping Fa doing? That was Ping Fa in her, like, revenge mode. She had, like, the board with the red string, and she was, like, plotting all this shit for, like, years. What else was she doing in America?
I have never seen that show.
It's a great show. It's a hot mess. I'm sure you've seen the meme everywhere where it's just, like, Charlie Day and, like, the board with, like, the red string everywhere, and he's, like, crazily trying to explain this weird conspiracy theory. It's, like, usually everywhere.
I'll have to look it up afterwards. Anyway. During this conversation, Big Nung is like, okay, you told me now. Can we go back to our original friendship? Like, that's all Big Nung wanted, was to go back to the way their friendship was before Ping Fa told her about her feelings. Which is great. This is what people want. If someone doesn't reciprocate your feelings, you want to be able to go back to your regular friendship. But this isn't good enough for Ping Fa. No, she's just like, love me, choose me, pick me. That literally was the opposite way around that I was supposed to say that, but whatever. Yeah, so she's not taking no for an answer, and that
again, little Nung.
Yeah, that's where little Nung gets her audacity. This bitch says, you know, it's Ping Fa that I'm talking about. Says, Fa loves Kun Nung, and I want you to look at me only. Girl, you can't just force someone to love you.
Yep.
And then Big Nung says that their relationship would be impossible because Ping Fa isn't worthy of her and they are from different classes. I find it very interesting, this word worthy, in the way that it's used in this show.
What do you mean?
Because, like, that's why that little Nung has always been trying to prove that she's worthy, and then this is just showing that being worthy of someone is really important in this world.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a class thing, because little Big Nung, she's royalty, and so she's like, and she, you know, at this point she's under the Grandmam's thumb. Like, she's living in the Buo Palace with the Grandmam and her sisters, and so she's is in that environment where it's constantly reinforced that you're perfect, no one else is perfect, and somehow you have to marry someone who's perfect, but that doesn't exist. So, like, that is the one lesson from the Grandmam that, like, carries on with her and traumatizes her the most, and it, like, fucks up her relationships with other people, because she's like, I can't date you, you're not worthy of me. And it also comes up in here too, she's like, we're women, because, like, Sam's not out yet, so Nung doesn't know that's an option, I guess. She has it in her head that nobody's ever worthy of her, so then when people approach her, she's like, no, ew. But the class thing I thought is really interesting, because this comes up later when, in season 2, when Ping Fa finds out about the Nung's dating, and she says, before she confronts Big Nung about it, she says it to little Nung. She's like, hey, remember, when you date someone, you have to be with someone who's your equal. Because Ping Fa is so scarred by this moment that, like, it obviously stuck with her forever. She named her fucking daughter after this tragic moment, because she's Taylor Swift in this universe. It just loves pain or whatever. So...
Oh my god, Taylor Swift needs to write a Thai girl love show.
That would be the dream. Could you imagine? That would be... I want the Taylor Swift the musical. Like, just some kind of story based off her songs would be insane and amazing.
Taylor Swift Female Rage, the musical. That's what she trademarked.
It'd be great. But, yeah, I think this moment really stuck with Ping Fa and, like, scarred her forever, basically. And the other thing about Nung is that, you know, part of her journey is that, again, she never had feelings for anybody ever. And so I think even with, like, the hookup she has later off screen, it was more so a curiosity thing, not a I have feelings for you thing. Whereas, like, that's what makes little Nung so special. Like, suddenly she's having all these feelings she's never had before. She's like, what the hell is this? Nobody makes me feel feelings. And that's kind of... I think what they're also trying to set up, they're like, yeah, like, because the big question is, like, why weren't you with her mother and not the daughter? But it's like, there was nothing here. It was one-sided.
You see that from the very beginning, like...
Right. You see it now. Nung's here. Like, who are you again? Like, you know, like, not a single fuck. Like, you know, so...
It's, yeah, this isn't her being like, oh, I can't be gay. This is no, I do. I really do not see you like that. Can we please be friends?
Right, exactly. She's like...
Because I don't think she wants to lose her as a friend, but she's like,
no.
I can't reciprocate. Like, you're literally telling me to only look at you. Like, I can't. Like, first of all, I don't like anyone like that.
Right. And there she is pulling the card where she's like, I'm the queen. Don't fucking tell me what to do. It's basically what this ending line is. How dare you? Kind of stuff. Anyway, I just love that this comes back later when like Pingfa's trying to protect her daughter and be like, I've been on the receiving end of Nueng not having feelings for you. I just don't want that to happen to my daughter.
Obviously, that is not the case because they got further than you and her ever did.
Right, which I think Pingfa's salty about, but that's a later discussion.
Oh, we need more. That's all I gotta say with that.
I know. I wish the show would continue.
But like spit off of like the characters and like we'll talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the flashbacks continue, and we grow up a little bit to medium Pingfa and medium Big Nueng. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And this is the moment that will now haunt Big Nueng forever. So,
yes.
I don't know how to say this word. So, Big Nueng gave Pingfa a...
Hematinic.
That's how... Oh, okay, that makes sense. Hematinic to get rid of her pregnancy. So, Pingfa's pregnant now. Surprise! At 16? Yes. And tells her that she is 16 and shouldn't be pregnant. And... like Theora pointed out to me, I believe during a reaction video, this is because like she does care about Pingfa. Like this is something that is going to impact her life. Like she doesn't want this unnecessary struggle to be put on her best friend. So she tells her not to let this child become trouble for her and asks her if she's even ready to be a mother. And then she also says, is the father going to take responsibility? Now, at this point, we don't know who the father is when you're watching this show. But knowing who the father is now, he was never going to take responsibility.
No, he's a piece of shit. So bottom line, yeah, Nueng cares. That's the thing, like, because it's in the flashbacks, like the first one, like it's Pingfa's point of view. These flashbacks, like, let us not forget. So like, yeah, you're gonna see it as Nueng being like cold and like distant and shit because Pingfa had all the feels here. But really, like you said, Nueng does. This is like her best friend, basically. She does care about her. She's like, you're in this position that's like, you know, and remember, this is like what 20 years ago or whatever. So like more not that there isn't more stigma on just like unwed teenage mothers. That's like the shame of the family. So like she's like, you're gonna take all this unnecessary heat, just like end it now. You're 16, you're too young for this. Like, is this even what you want, or is your family gonna pressure you into it? Like that kind of stuff. So she's giving her an option, you know, kind of thing. But this was weird to me because I was like, what the hell is a hematinic? Like it sounds like a tonic, like a tincture of something, and I was like, what the hell is this? And once again, this plot just is proof that we know nothing about pregnancy in the Gap universe. So what the fuck was this hematinic all about? Okay, so heme, the prefix means iron, and tinic is like a tincture. So it's like that's why it's like a bottle. Tincture's like comes kind of liquid dealy. So it's like an over-the-counter. So I was like, I thought it was weird that Nueng had it. So, because clearly it was like over-the-counter. Like this wasn't a prescription. She just bought this. And I'm like, that's really weird that this would be sold and accessible to children because she's also 16. So it's basically an iron supplement. So what Nueng's proposing in this scenario, remember, she's also a child. She's proposing an iron overdose for Pingfa, okay? Because Pingfa would be the one that has to take it, right? Okay, so why does this matter? So iron, if you're unaware, is... Yeah, don't read ahead. Iron basically is a element that our body uses to transport oxygen, and oxygen is what keeps all of our cells alive and keeps us functioning. Okay, so you need like a certain level of iron, and when you're pregnant, you're like... pregnancy is wild, but basically the amount of blood circulating through your body like increases a lot because now you have to oxygenate the baby, and like you get a placenta, which is another organ, and all this kind of stuff. So like women that are pregnant are often have low iron because their body's just trying to keep all this stuff going, right? So they usually need to be on some kind of supplement. But what Nueng's proposing is taking way more than you need, and so essentially leading to an iron overdose. And the problem with that is not that you just be able to like super oxygenate your body. Iron's a charged chemical, okay? And anytime you have charged chemicals floating around, it's something we call a free radical. You may have heard of something called like antioxidants. You may have heard of this. They're like, oh, it's good for you. It helps fight cancer. And like basically what an antioxidant does is it binds to charged particles like free radicals. And why that's a good thing is because if you have charged particles just going around your body, it can cause damage. It just damages stuff because it's basically untethered energy. And so by having way too much iron in your body, you're having way too many charged chemicals, and it can cause a bunch of tissue death. And it can cause you essentially to go into multi-organ failure and kill you. So like what Nueng was good intentioned here, but what actually ends up happening to women in iron overdose situations in pregnancy is that it kills the mother and then by extension kills the baby. So this is a terrible idea for a number of reasons.
God, Big Nueng is trying to murder two people.
Right, and we don't address that. So like Nueng has bodies in this show is what I've come to learn. Song, the Grandmam later, and then like, well, actually not really the Grandmam, but like Song is a body. She almost had two bodies from this, like Pigfa and Little Nueng. So yeah, this was insane. I feel like there's other ways to have children talk about this, but yeah, please don't do this. This is not a viable way to get rid of a pregnancy. This would have killed Pingfa actually, and then Little Nueng by extension, because like a fetus cannot survive with. No, they're parasites at that point, like biologically speaking. Like that's how you kill the baby, by killing the mom. So this was a very stupid idea. Very stupid.
I have a Taylor Swift song to enter here.
Play stupid game, win stupid prizes.
No, but mine was no body, no crime.
Yeah, no, literally. This was, I mean, yeah. No body, no crime. Yeah, no. Yeah, she almost killed Pigfa with the suggestion, actually. But to your point, like, okay, at the time, little Big Nueng thought she was protecting her friend by being like, hey, you have a bright future. Get rid of this thing so that you can have your bright future. God. And in the moment where she's hearing this in the present, like, little Big Nueng is thinking, like, oh shit, like, this thing I did, because again, in the present, she's at this point in her life where she's very much second-guessing every decision she's making because of shit like this, where she's like, I thought I was doing the right thing by helping my friend, by giving her a choice to take back her life and pursue her own happiness and not be robbed of it by what some dude did to her, right? But what almost happened? She almost killed Pingfa, which nobody addresses, but nobody addresses that. She almost, like, Little Nueng was almost never born, basically. And, like, at this stage, Nueng is coming to realize that Little Nueng is her source of happiness. So she almost, like, destroyed her own happiness by, like, trying to save Pingfa's. And it's just, like, she's just like, what the hell? Every time I do something, I end up harming people. And, like, that was not Nueng's intention with this suggestion, you know? So it's just, like, now she just gets way too in her head about stuff because she's like, well, fuck, if I do this, then, like, what if it just kind of, like, trapped in, like, have you ever heard the butterfly theory with, like, time travel where they're like, you, like, step on a butterfly. Effect. Yeah, you step on a butterfly and then it causes World War III or whatever. So that's what she keeps thinking. She's like, well, if I do this, will it cause World War III? Like, and yeah, and it causes her to be very, like, that's why going forward, she's very wishy-washy about a lot of stuff. And is like, she's like, yes, no. It's just, she's worried about shit like this, where she's like, I thought I was doing the right thing, and look what almost happened, look what did happen, and yeah. But damn, this is a lot.
But at this point, everyone thinks that she did take it. And, like, I forget, did she actually drink any of it at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, we get it.
She's alive.
In the conversation, she's alive, first of all. In the conversation with Pingfa and her mother, they explain all of it, like, a little bit later. I have theories on what actually happened based on their conversation.
I'm so glad you do. Theora is our Dr. T and offers invaluable insight into the medical world.
Into Nueng almost taking out her best friend.
Could you imagine that we could have an alternate universe blank episode where it's like, what if? Like, what if her and Pink Fa got together? Another episode, what if her and Chet got together? I don't want that episode.
I don't want that episode.
I know, but then like she still meets little Nueng in these alternate universes as well, and then see how that plays out.
It doesn't matter. It's an alternate universe.
How, Theora? We'll discuss it later. Anyway, Pink Fa is now throwing the past in Big Nueng's face because that is what she's good at. It's her pastime, actually.
Well then.
And she tells her that little Nueng almost dies because of her, and then makes fun of her for being so shocked about everything. Like, I'm sorry, everything that's coming out of your mouth right now is shocking. First of all, she didn't even know that this child was yours.
Also, they haven't allegedly seen each other in 20 years. This is the catch-up conversation. Like, how are you? This is what they're talking about after not talking for 20 years. This is insane.
Yes, and I find Pink Fa is very unlikable.
Absolutely. I mean, this scene for sure. This is her. We're meeting her for the first time, and she's in full revenge mode against our beloved Big Nueng. Of course, we're gonna not like her.
Yeah, and like we said, we find out later that she's not being completely truthful here at all. No. And basically just trying to hurt Big Nueng as much as she did when little Big Nueng denied Pink Fa when she confessed her love.
Yeah.
Basically the same thing that little Nueng did.
Literally. Except it was reciprocated by Big Nueng in only one of those scenarios. That's the difference.
So, but hold on. Now that I'm thinking about it, when Big Nueng went to talk to Sam, she said, "Are kids these days throwing around love?" I believe, something like that. Yeah. But I'm like, you think just people, like, because you now have had two people just confess their love to you out of nowhere. It's just you, Big Nueng.
Well, also, like, it's not even that. It's just that little Nueng says it constantly. That's the thing where, like, Pink Fa says... Pink Fa never said it before, said it in this one conversation, and then I get the impression by these flashbacks that they never talked about it ever again, whereas little Nueng every single day is like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And that's when Nueng's like, Sam, what the hell? Does this word mean something different now in this generation? That's what she's asking Sam. And Sam's no, kids are scary. Actually... I don't know.
That's funny. Okay, I get it. Does love mean something different? To be
That's fair, what she's asking.
It probably could.
Right. And I feel like in the translation that we get and correct me if you're a native Thai speaker or understand the language better. From the I can't always catch the actual word that they're saying because, like, you know, I'm an English speaker. But in the translations, it seems like they almost use, like, affection and they translate it as love because sometimes the characters are like, what do you mean by love? What kind of love? So I feel like they're using some word in some of these scenarios where it can mean just, like, general affection versus where it could be platonic. It could be just, like, you know, like, I love you, where you say it to your friends. And then in some contexts, it's, like, romantic. So I think that Nueng is, when she asks Sam that question, she's like, what do they mean by this? Do they mean, like, this most holy of all feelings? Or do they just mean, I like you? You know, I think that's what she's trying to get.
That makes sense.
Because Big Nueng's old school. So she's like, to me, it's something you never say, and then, unless you really mean it. But, like, she's like, this kid says it every 10 minutes, and I'm just confused.
Yeah, that makes sense. But we're not done with the explanation.
No, we're still in Pink Fa.
We're not done with the explanation of why a Nueng is called a Nueng. So she's like, I named her a Nueng. So when people call her nickname Nueng, it would remind me of the person who hurt her.
Why?
Like, this dramatic bitch.
Why?
And also I noticed, like, I don't know if this is translation or a language thing. And when she's talking about the name, she refers to little Nueng as that girl. I named that girl. She doesn't say my daughter. She never really takes ownership of her. Like, there is a disconnect there. And There's a little part of me that wonders if she only wanted to get close to Little Nueng because Little Nueng was close to Big Nueng.
I'm 100% convinced from all of this shit that you just went over that Pingfa is 1000% not over Nueng. Because the long game of this, of naming her daughter after your almost ex-girlfriend, is way too dramatic. This is some Taylor Swift shit where she's like, I named my child after you to be reminded of the heartbreak. Like, who does this? This is crazy behavior. Okay, this is also proof that her mother, like Little Nueng's grandmother, had no idea who the bad friend was, because there's no way she was going to let her daughter name their granddaughter after the bad friend that influenced her. Like, oh my god.
You see how sneaky Pingfa is? Her mom definitely didn't know anything that was going on. That is how we ended up in this situation.
Right, no, literally. Which is why she, like, again, overcorrects with Little Nueng and just is like a hawk circling over her constantly. Poor Little Nueng. Little Nueng didn't deserve any of this shit because your parents are messy hoes. Like, that's not her fault. Look at this shit.
Speaking of a hawk circling over things, Pingfa just keeps reiterating the same shit over and over again about how Big Nueng didn't want Little Nueng to be born. And, like, who would have thought that the world would bring Little Nueng, like, that Little Nueng would meet the person who didn't want her to be born. Like, okay, now it's old. We've already been through this, like, 5 times in this conversation.
In that conversation, I had a screenshot, but I deleted for some reason. She also says, after that, she says, is this destiny? Like, Pingfa says it. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think that Pingfa meant that to hurt Big Nueng, because this whole speech is just her hurting Big Nueng, basically. But I think the line, to hear that from Big Nueng's perspective, it's really loaded for her to say, was meeting Little Nueng destiny for you. Guilt is obviously an emotion she's feeling by hearing that. But also, like, Little Nueng, her surviving all of this, because again, Big Nueng in her head is like, oh shit, I did do all these things. And she flashes back to, like, the conversation she had with Little Nueng, where they're talking about, like, why do you wear glasses? And she's like, my mom didn't want me, but I survived anyway. Now Big Nueng is putting it together, oh fuck, all of this is my fault. So I think the destiny piece is like, okay, but despite my actions, Little Nueng survived, right? Like, so I think it's almost like a second chance in a way too, like the destiny component of this. Like, for me, it's like, it also presents to Big Nueng an like, yes, sometimes we make mistakes and things happen we didn't intentionally mean to happen. Like this whole potential, like, premature birth thing, which is all bullshit. But, like, to Big Nueng, it's not in this moment. She's like, okay, like, this was a huge mistake that I made, but Little Nueng survived. I met her. That's destiny. Now I get a second chance to make up for my past mistakes, make the future better. And by extension, like, sees her own happiness, the thing she's been chasing forever. So I thought that the destiny line was really interesting because it's layered in the context of, like, everything that's happening in the show, and I thought that was a really good line. And also, can we also so then this conversation ends, and then Big Nueng goes back to Chet, and Chet's like, where's Pingfa? And she's like, she left. So can we talk about the fact that Pingfa shows up at this event unannounced just to talk to Nueng and then leaves? Like, she never talked to her daughter. She just fucking leaves the event. Like, why was she here?
I don't understand this woman. I don't like this woman.
She just leaves.
We didn't get the scene that we wanted from her. She has no reason to be in the show, in my opinion. She's the one that breaks the generational curse of her family. It's just very subtle the way she does it. She's an important character, but, like, because you brought it up in the last episode, Kaitlynn, you're like, I don't even know why she's here. How did she find out about this? Why is she here? Seriously, why is she here? She came here to yell at Big Nueng, and then she left. She never talked to her daughter, because Big Nueng's how did she know that Big Nueng was going to be, like, I understand how she, like, I don't know. No, okay, all right. So they all had to have known that she went to this school. So obviously she probably got something in the mail or something, but it would have gone to the grandmother's house. I don't know. somehow maybe they had a social media blast, okay?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's current time. I can't remember it. Like, there's so many shows and the timeline
It's true.
periods are different. And anyway, so she knew that this was happening. And I guess she was just reminded of, like, Big Nung being, like, forced to do things when she was younger by the Grandmam. And she doesn't know what's happened in between, so she thinks she's probably still under the control of the Grandmam.
Right.
So I guess maybe she's like, oh, she's definitely going to be there. That's the only valid thing I could think of.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Because, like, if she truly knew Nung, Nung would never come to this. So yeah, this was a stupid plan. But yeah, I think you're right. I think she's thinking 20 years ago, Nung would have had to have showed up with this. This bitch doesn't even say hi to her daughter. She like, what is this?
No, because she never cared about her.
Exactly.
And we see that through the show. It's always, and I think, like, going forward, I'm gonna try and focus more on that as well. Because, like, you see, she's trying to get Big Nung out of the way to get Little Nung's love later. But I think it's still a jealous reason.
I agree. I think mostly, at least in the beginning, it's mostly jealousy. Because Pingfa and Little Nung do not have a relationship with each other. They were robbed of that because of the grandmother. The grandmother split them apart. They grew up in their own separate environments, and now they're converging and they're strangers, which only Little Nung voices out loud. She's like, I don't know any of you people, and now suddenly you want to parent me. I'm 20. So, like, it's fucking weird. And it's the parenting mentality that they have is, I think it's easy for people that in America now, in a lot of places, at least progressive thinking people, to be like, this behavior is really weird, that the parenting is, the parenting that's happening, not because she's 20, I mean, that's weird, but the way they're parenting her is very, like, traditional family parenting, which I don't think you have. I kind of had, but not really, where it's like, children are extensions of their parents. They're not seen as their own people. It's like, you reflect me, and therefore I can control you because
no, it's not me.
Right, exactly. And so, like, when you're watching these interactions, you're like, they're being really weird, and I don't know why they're doing this. It's because that's the mentality of the role of the parent in their societal structure. So, like, they do have every right to do that in the context of their society. But it's like, Little Nung is like, you're a stranger, I don't know you. So it's very weird. But anyway, so, like, Pingfa's trying to come into that role and be like, I'm your biological mother. I can tell you what to do. And the thing that stops her constantly is the grandmother being like, hold your roll, bitch. I rank above you in the family, and I actually raised her, so therefore I can overrule you. But nobody can do that to Chet, because there is no, like, grandfather who's like, no, I raised... So, like, Chet is unmatched when unchecked when he tries to control Little Nung. But
unfortunately.
Exactly. Unfortunately, but Pingfa is constantly put down by her own mother, which speaks about their fucked up relationship too, right? So it's a giant mess, this whole family. And poor Little Nung is just like, all these strangers are trying to control me, and it's fucked up. And the only person who sees this from Little Nung's point of view is Big Nung. And Big Nung's the only one that intervenes and is like, why don't you ask her what she wants? Because you guys are making a lot of assumptions.
I love how this just became a family analysis rather than 104.
I mean, there's scenes later in this episode that basically cover everything we just said, but...
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of Chet, the next bomb gets dropped in this scene.
The way this happens, though, is so funny.
And this happens the same way again later. Which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. It is hilarious.
And this, I think, is the only time I actually feel for Chet. So Chet is just trying to figure out what is going on with Big Nung. Fair. And in his mind, she randomly brings up the relationship he had with Pingfa when they were 16 years old. Okay, so, like, you just see the person that you're trying to use for political power now at this point, and you're trying to make sure that they're okay, because, like, something's clearly wrong. Like, poor Big Nung. A lot was just dropped on her. Oh my God. She's like, you know what, someone else has to feel my pain. Literally. And Big Nung is the pull the band-aid off type of person, because she just looks at Chet and is like, congratulations, it's a girl. Well, she says, you have a daughter, but that's what I heard. And then she promptly leaves.
Yeah.
While Chet is like, what the hell just happened?
She does not care about him.
No one does. Like,
no one does.
But like, she just changed his world in 2 seconds and then promptly walked away.
And then leaves. That's so good.
And then poor Big Nueng is just trying to leave this place. She's like, I can't handle it anymore. This was too much. I should have never came in the first place. But it seems like she has to do a tour of confrontations in order to be able to leave. Because now little Nueng comes up to her and asks if she's leaving. And this whole scene is like so sad and reiterates the pain in Big Nueng's heart. Big Nueng can't even look at little Nueng, and this continues on for a while, but little Nueng doesn't realize it, but she's rubbing salt into Big Nueng's wound without knowing, and she says, if our Nueng is not here, then I don't want to be here too. When you are with me, I feel rest assured. And like, it's really sad if you think about it, because it's exactly like, you don't want to be here too. When Big Nueng's with her, she feels like, oh, I am okay. I can do this.
Yeah,
but like,
what she's saying is, you're my safe space. And in Nueng's brain, she's like, I almost killed you. Like, that's why she can't look at her. She's like, oh my God. Like, it's just like, it breaks Nueng's heart, the fact that this girl puts her on such a high pedestal, and she's like, I am not, this is when Nueng starts thinking, I am not worthy of your affection. Because remember the conversation with Pinkfa was like, you're not worthy of me, Pinkfa. I don't want your fucking love or whatever. And then here she is in a scenario with somebody like that genuinely loves her. And then Nueng is starting to realize she has feelings for her back. And she's like, I'm not worthy of you. That's what she's thinking, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would have been really cute if we got that at some point.
Yeah.
Big Nueng saying, I'm not worthy of you.
Yeah.
I think that would have been so cute. Good.
But I think that a lot of this going forward is how Nueng actually feels. She's like, I'm not worthy of you. And I don't think she's ever felt like that ever. Because again, it was very much drilled into her head. There is no equal for you. And then here she is being like, well, damn. Here's somebody who's kind of better than me. Miss Perfect, you know?
Oh, man, Theora, you just broke my heart.
I know. Well, okay, wait till Faye starts acting her ass off in this scene. Yes. Breaking hearts.
Let's just talk about how great of an actor that Faye is.
Oh my God.
I am giving the Big Gay Energy Award. I'm saying it now. To the tears threatening to fall from Faye's eyes as she looks at little Nueng. Like,
she
beautiful.
Is the master of the hovering tear. Like, the control she has, and she does it in multiple scenes, but this one too, she even blinks and they still don't fall. Like, her act, that's insanely hard what she's doing, and she does it multiple times. It's not some fluke. Like,
Big Nueng,
ma'am,
Faye.
oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Hydrate for Faye's acting. Holy shit.
Oh,
where's her award?
Faye, we would like to meet you if you happen to listen to this. We're saving up to get a haircut.
Like, damn, her acting is just insane. Like, wow. Like, just wow. Yoko does a great job acting opposite of her, but, like, this thing with the tears is insanely difficult, and she just nails it.
Faye is amazing. She's perfect. For this role. Yeah. Like, I don't mean, like, I don't want to say, like, she's
just in general, but
in life, because that's too much pressure to put on somebody, but
true. She was perfect.
She's perfect in this role. Very happy. Okay. And then
also, I wanted to just say how funny it is, because I saw your note, because the way we do our notes here, we're splitting up the sections, and then, like, if it's Kaitlyn's section, I'll go put my notes in after. We both independently noted the same thing, her hovering tears, Like, I also noted that. I was like, God damn it, this scene with the tears, and then, like, you're like, the big energy word for the tears, and I was like, I'm glad we both noticed that.
That's
independently noticed it.
Yeah, so when we do notes, like, one of us will not read the other person's, but the person who's inputting notes will have to figure out where to put it. So it's definitely, damn, you took my note, but also we're such a similar when we
this deserved all the praise for this scene. Like holy shit.
It's just, go watch it again. Just stare at Faye.
Just stare at Faye.
just watch the show.
Do yourself a favor.
Stare at Faye. Like, that's what we do at this point.
Honestly, though, like, yes, she's very distracting. But if you watch Yoko's, she does a lot more facial expression acting.
Yeah,
she's really good, especially when she's trying to be petty as fuck.
Very good.
Yeah, no, they play very well.
That was very well done.
I know. Honestly, though, okay, so like there's a lot of discourse. So at the time we're filming this, it's like The Secret of Us is also like airing. And a lot of people are just like, wow, this show's so much better. All the people that hated Blank are like, the acting, blah, blah, blah. And the acting is very good, but I was like, have you watched these two act, though? Like, these two are very good.
They are.
They're very good. I personally think they're
Everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's all good. We're getting more shows. That's all that matters. But like, honestly, kudos to these dudes. They do a good job.
Little Nueng can be annoying because she was meant to be like that.
Correct.
Like, Yoko makes you feel exactly what you're supposed to feel with Little Nueng. Both of them though, and that's what makes a great actor. Is like, you're not supposed to like a character when you're not supposed to, and like they do a great job.
And that's why I wanted to say, like, yeah, because Yoko, don't overlook her, because she does so many things, like, completely changes her voice and, like, does all these things to, like, exactly your point, Kaitlynn, to convey exactly what she's supposed to convey with the character, and she also nails it. So, like, good job.
See, like, the growth over this entire show between, like, Yoko gives to Little Nueng is amazing.
Yes, it is.
Like, she should not be getting as much hate for her acting as she is.
Her acting is great. It is actually insane.
Anyway.
I
believe this was Little Nueng. I only wrote she.
Yeah.
But I think it's Little Nueng.
It's
That
Little
makes
Nueng.
more sense. Little Nueng says that I'm here for you. Don't cry. And I'm like, Little Nueng, stop saying you're here. That's making it worse.
It is making it worse.
Oh, they're just the poor babies. Go ahead.
Did you want to say this part?
Well, I thought we already did. At this point, I'm sure all Big Nueng is thinking is about how Little Nueng was almost not there.
Correct. Yeah. So this is where, like, this is when the tears start about to fall. Because, yeah, that's exactly what she's thinking. She's like, here's this person who's trying to comfort me when no one... Again, okay, can we just... Okay, they're in the middle of the room. They are in the middle of this event.
I don't understand. I kept thinking that they were alone for some reason.
No,
there's a bunch of strangers all around.
This is not a secret moment in a crowded room. Everyone can see them, including Nueng's relatives. Like, everyone, like, they're turning heads with what they're doing right now. People are like, what are they doing? So here's the deal. They're on full display right now. Faye / Big Nueng is clearly about to start bawling her eyes out in the middle of this happy birthday party for the school. So it's very odd what's happening here. And these two have tunnel vision, so they don't notice anything else going on around them, but everybody's watching them. And when when Little Nueng notices how actually upset, because the beginning of this conversation, Little Nueng is like trying to be bubbly and cheerful, and usually that rubs off on Big Nueng and gets her to relax, and it's not working. And when she realizes that something's really wrong, that's when she's like, wait, why are you crying? She says, who made you cry? Not just, why are you crying? Who did this? She turns immediately into like a protective girlfriend immediately, which I think makes Nueng more upset, because here's Little Nueng being like, I'll fucking kill whoever did this. And Little Nueng and Big Nueng's like, I did this to myself. And like, is just like, you're being way too nice to me right now. It's one of those things where like you feel like shit and somebody's being way too nice to you and trying to comfort you way too much, and it's making it worse. And that's what's happening in the scene.
I wonder if that was kind of is similar to when she was telling Chet, like, why aren't you angry with me?
Yeah. No, totally. Big Nung has this self-deprecating thing going on. But here it's like, she's like, I almost killed you. And like, you're the one who's comforting me. Like, the irony of this, right? So I think, like we said earlier, I think Big Nung feels more unworthy of what's happening in front of her and this kind of like affection. And she feels like a terrible person because she's like, I keep hurting the people I love, like Song, my grandmother, all this stuff. And now you, like the person she has the most feelings for, and she's starting to like come to terms with that, right? The other thing I love about this scene, this particular conversation that they're having right now, is how little Nung talks to Nung. So at the beginning of the conversation, when Nung first comes and they start talking, little Nung addresses her formally, like she uses the formal twang, the formal language. But once she starts realizing that Big Nung is genuinely upset, she drops all the formalities and just, that's when she's like calling her like Arnung and like drops all of that twang stuff because she's worried about her. She's like, I'm not playing games with you. Like, I think that's what that's showing. She's like, I'm genuinely worried. What's going on? And to me, it's like that little detail like that, just like the language shift just shows how much Little Nung cares and how Little Nung is like, again, they're at this big formal event. She's supposed to be formal and she's just, her focus is solely on Big Nung. And it's like they forget what the hell's going on around them. So to me, that demonstrates like the tunnel vision that they have and how Little Nung is like just thinking about comforting Big Nung and nothing else. And I think that starts to make it worse for like Big Nung.
Yeah, just let them be happy, man.
They get there eventually.
Yeah. It becomes too much for Big Nung, really. So Big Nung just pulls Little Nung into the biggest hug and starts stroking her hair, and then thanks her for being alive. That is a really weird thing to say when the other person doesn't know what's going on.
Which is why Little Nung's response to this, where she's like, huh, is hilarious, because she's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's so funny.
It's like, if you think about it, Little Nung has no idea what's going on. Big Nung is just acting very, very weird.
Yes!
She's like, this girl is usually running away from me. Why is she coming toward, like, why is she clinging on to me right now?
And remember, Big Nung's not saying anything right now, and then this is what she says, and Little Nung's like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Okay. But just remember, they're doing this in the middle of a crowded room, and people can see them. Okay? Just remember that. So clearly Nung is not thinking when she hugs Little Nung. Okay? And to me, that thank you for being alive, what she really means by that is, like, thank you for fighting against my stupid decision and being here today, because, like, I'm an idiot. And then in this conversation, Big Nung calls Little Nung my good girl for, like, the first time. And I want to point that out because that becomes this... Big Nung never uses terms of... To Big Nung, terms of endearment, like nicknames, like babe, that kind of stuff. It's something you do sparsely, privately, because it means a lot. And here she is saying this in the middle of a crowded room, like, speaking to her tunnel vision. But this is a term of endearment she uses throughout the show in private moments between the two of them that are big and monumental. So, like, I need to point out she says it for the first time in this scene. And to me, I think the reason she uses a term of endearment, because that's a big deal to her, is because this particular moment signifies how Big Nung is coming to terms with the fact that Little Nung is her happiness. Like, from, like, our Flag Means Death. She's, like, the break in her day or whatever. Because, like, and, like, this bright, beautiful, brilliant woman almost didn't exist because of her own actions. So it's, like, this huge, like, conflicting thing for Nung. And she's just, like, thanks for being here despite my best efforts. Like, you know,
to make sure you wore it.
You know? And just Little Nung's ha is the funniest thing on the planet. Because she doesn't know any of the context or any of this, and she's just like, you're pet naming me, you're thanking me for being alive, you're hugging me at an event, like, what is happening? Are you okay? Like, she doesn't even hug her back, she's so stunned. She's just like, what is happening right now?
Which is a very fair reaction, because you see this girl, like, almost crying, and then she's just saying thank you for being alive.
It's so strange. Like, poor little, like, from Little Nug's point of view, she's like, what is happening? This is the weirdest event ever.
However, Big Nueng and Ping Fa's conversation was also in front of everybody, so I don't understand how...
No. They went... Okay, so when Little Nung's like, Mom, and she shows up, Big Nueng and Ping Fa go somewhere else to have their conversation. Okay. So nobody overheard them, but Little Nueng did see them go off together. So in this conversation, she's like, did my mom say something to you? Because, like, they went off to talk privately. We don't see them move to a different area, but, like, they're in a different area.
All right. Thank you. So I was like, how is everyone not knowing what's going on right now? Because they're not quiet.
You think Ping Fa would have that nasty conversation in front of her mother? They went off somewhere else, yeah.
Because at this point, she knows. Yes, because we did that in the last episode. Oh, so much happens in this one room.
But then we cut.
Yeah,
my favorite part.
Theora's favorite part.
Okay.
Which I'm going to just let Theora handle.
This 100% is my favorite moment. This is my big gay energy award. This short sequence of shots, and where no one says anything. So, okay, remember, they're in a crowded room having this conversation / Nueng is hugging Little Nueng. Then it cuts, hard cut. We get a hard cut to Sam. Who's watching this go down. And in her brain, I think Sam's like, thank God, for once it's not me and my messy gay drama. It's your turn, Nueng, take the stage. Then from Sam, it cuts to the grandmam, which is my favorite cut, because this bitch is like, God damn it, at 2, Nueng, at 2, now all 3 of you bitches, she lost all of them. So... yeah, because then we get the flashback from the grandma where she saw Big Nueng holding Little Nueng's wrist, and she's like, I knew that was some lesbian shit, but god damn it. So she lost with all of her granddaughters. Like, she's like, she was still holding out hope that Big Nueng was going to be like the granddaughter that gets married, has the heirs, this and that, and she's like, at 2, Nueng. What the hell?
Did she lose, or did she win, or hit the jackpot?
In her brain, she lost. She lost.
In our brain, she hit the jackpot.
Well, yeah, but like if you think about it, like that family, it dies with them. They're not having kids, so like that ML line is going out with the 2 of them. So anyway, the grandmam's over this gay nonsense. It was just very funny to be like, she's like, God, just her moment of realization. It's just like, God damn it, you too. So funny. Nueng stabbing her in the back.
You know what? Just gotta get over it. All right. Are we heading into part 2 now?
We are.
All right. So let's take a moment again to appreciate Faye's acting. With the opening of part 2 with 0 dialogue and communicating everything we need to know.
I think Faye could have just started this without talking, and it would have been just as effective, honestly.
So basically, she can do a silent film.
Yeah, no, exactly. This could have been blank with, like, no dialogue. Anyway, so basically, Nueng has a restless night, and then afterwards she meets up with Chet the next day, I assume to talk about the Little Nueng situation.
Big Nueng makes a comment when they're eating that Chet invited her out, but he didn't say a single word or eat. And I'm just like, Nueng, you do this to Sam all the time.
Literally every time they meet up.
Minus the not eating part. You do eat.
Yeah,
that's because like food. You're there for the food.
That's why she's like, is something really wrong because you're not eating? I don't care if you look sad and don't. She's like, I don't care if you don't talk to me. I'm here for the food. But the fact that you're not eating must mean something's wrong. All right. So this conversation / interaction can be summed up with Chet is the worst. So we get confirmation in this conversation between the 2 of them that he knew about the pregnancy, yet was somehow surprised that there's a child. But he abandoned Ping Fa because he, quote, wasn't ready.
Okay.
Bitch.
So like the ignorance. This is Chet's ignorance at its best. And this is where I say he has audacity. Not audacity. Audacity in
All
his own
caps.
right. Because he has the audacity to ask if Little Nueng is actually his. When the timeline adds up, and he literally knew she was pregnant. Like, you knew.
Right.
Because even if he wasn't sure that it was his, he could have handled that back then.
This is why 16-year-olds shouldn't be having children. This is why Big No was trying to nip this in the bud. She's like, you are too young for this shit. Look at these morons. And they scarred their daughter forever.
Oh my god, yeah. But he also says that he wasn't mature enough back then. But I'm like, dude, you're not mature now.
Right. No, anyway.
Yeah, but don't worry, because he's ready to take responsibility now.
20 years later.
That Little Nueng does not actually need him.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. What I do love from this conversation is that Nueng calls him out immediately. And she's like, you weren't ready? What about 16-year-old Pingfa? Was she ready? Crickets? Because, yeah, why does the man get the pass here? He gets to run away and abdicate responsibility, and then Pingfa's stuck with the mess. Whatever. Anyway. But suddenly now he wants to claim Little Nueng as his daughter. And I was like, why are you so hell-bent on this now? It can't just be, I'm mature. That sounds like some bullshit. And I think it really goes back to the fact that Chet is an opportunist. And he's a traditional patriarch by the way he handles this whole situation, okay? He sees Little Nueng as an opportunity for advancement. Because if he has a child that's biologically his, he now has a legitimate heir to secure his legacy. Which he does talk about. He's like, that's why he wants DNA testing. He's like, well, so she's legally on paper mine, so she can inherit shit from me and like have my last name and all the benefits that come with that. The other piece of that is, remember, he's trying to enter the realm of politics now. And in politics, men who have children are seen as family men and they poll better. So it benefits him more than anything to have a child for his voter base. So this is all one big opportunity to, like, make himself look better. Like, again, when he was 16, he's like, I don't need this now. But 20 years later, he's like, this is a good opportunity for me. So that's what this really is coming from. The other thing is that Little Nueng is very close to Big Nueng. So if he involves himself in Little Nueng's life, that's another opportunity to stay connected to Big Nueng and work his angle to, like, gain status by trying to marry her again, which was such a stupid
Pingfa.
Yeah. And so I do love when they leave the dinner or whatever and they go outside and they're still talking about Little Nueng, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna ask for a DNA test, and then she's like, are you sure? And he's like, I mean, I don't need it. Like, look at her face. My cute DNA is all over her face. And Nueng's like, oh, for fuck's sake, bro. And I love when he's waxing poetic basically about how, well, I don't need the test because I instantly fell in love with her. Meanwhile, this man has been ignoring Little Nueng the whole time. And the minute this is what I was talking about earlier, the minute he gets it in his brain that she's his daughter, suddenly he's like, she's so cute and wonderful. And like, I just want to talk to her all the time. He's been ignoring her for 3 episodes. And suddenly
he found out less than 24 hours ago.
Correct. This is insanity. And he's like, well, I instantly fell in love with her once I knew she was my daughter. And I love that Nueng, a little too freely, is like, relatable. Whoever is close to her is just going to naturally fall in love with her. That's the gift that she has. And it's like, girl, you're just like snitching on yourself. And he's like, you too, Nueng? And she's like, what? What does love even mean? Stop using that word, like the youth.
Yeah, I think he needs to remember the words that he says to Big Nueng. He says, that girl is lucky to receive love from you. Just saying. You said it, Chet.
You said it, Chet. We all know she's lucky. We get it.
And then the last one is for the next scene. When he is dropping Big Nueng off at her place, and Little Nueng is there. Mm-hmm. And he's just really good at being awkward in situations. So,
oh my god,
we would
seriously
like to continue with the scene.
They have the most awkward conversation about it, because what's different now is he suddenly sees Little Nueng as a human being. So when he gets out of the car, usually he ignores Little Nueng and just only talks to Big Nueng and talks to Little Nueng through Big Nueng. So Little Nueng sees Big Nueng get out of the car and she's like, oh my god, yay, my girlfriend's here, and like grabs her arm. Big Nueng doesn't fight her. She's like, whatever, I'm too tired. And Chet gets out of the car and then Chet starts talking to her and Little Nueng's like, why are you talking to me? Like directly. He never directly talks to her. And
he's also the competition for in Little Nueng's eyes.
No, she doesn't understand what the hell's going on because she doesn't understand he's her biological father yet. She's just like, why are you suddenly talking to me? But he doesn't know how to talk to her. So he's saying weird shit like, was school fun? And she's like, was school fun? What the fuck kind of question is this? She's like, I guess. What? She's like, can you leave? You're fucking being weird. And Big Nueng, who knows Little Nueng, is watching her and she's like, she's really uncomfortable right now. This dude is making her uncomfortable. So Big Nueng shuts this shit down and sends Chet away. And while she's doing, and Chet's confused, she's like, you should go now. And he's like, I don't know. She's like, get out of here. Have fun driving. She starts using and he's like, what's with this language? And I think she's using childish language back at him to be like, you're making her uncomfortable. Get the fuck out of here, Chet. And Little Nueng, who doesn't know what's going on, is watching this happen and she's just smiling because she's like, my girlfriend's defending me. This is great. Like, it's very cute. She's like, she's getting rid of this man I hate.
I win.
Yeah, I win. Exactly. She's gloating. She's like, I win. She likes me more. And she's letting me hang under her arm. Anyway. So Chet leaves. And after this, and also like, remember, Nueng was being weird the last time she saw her. So like, here's Nueng being normal in Little Nueng's brain. But then when Chet leaves, Big Nueng gets weird again. And it's revealed in this conversation that they haven't seen each other since the school birthday party. So it's been a while, and Nueng's like, I don't know, my phone's been off, reasons, I can't see. She's been avoiding Little Nueng, basically, and Little Nueng's like, I don't know why you're avoiding me, this is weird. And Nueng's like, well, I can't, you're grounded, right? So, like, we can't see each other anyway. Little Nueng's like, how did you know that? But, okay, whatever. She's like, don't worry about my grandmother. She hasn't been slandering you since like, the Centennial event, she found out you're the queen. And also, like, my mom's here, so she's super hella distracted by that disappointment. She's like, trying to focus on you. And Little Nueng's like, by the way, my grandmother even invited you over for dinner. And that's purely because she's royalty. Which Little Nueng doesn't give a fuck about. But she's just like, yay, like, my family's excited, like, is inviting her over to dinner and, like, accepting her so that when I wife her later, it'll be fine. Like, Little Nueng's very excited. She's like, I'll take any win with my crazy family that I could possibly get. And that freaks Big Nueng out because she's like, well, fuck. I almost caused all this damage to your family, and now they're being not like, so inviting somebody over to dinner is like guest rights. It's like a big honor, and she's like, fuck, I'm gonna be honored at your house, like, and I'm like the devil, like, this is just, it's more salt in the wound for Big Nueng right now, who's keeping all the guilt as bestly bottled up as she can, but it's like obviously not working. And clearly, as this conversation goes on, Little Nueng notices that Big Nueng is acting weird again, and she calls her out, and she's like, why aren't you looking at me? She's like, a woman of your confidence is not afraid to look anybody in the eye, and for some reason you're afraid to look me in the eye right now. She's like, did you do something behind my back? Or did my mother say something to you? This is when she's like putting things together, right?
Two things. One, I'm surprised that Little Nueng calls her mother. I don't know if maybe that's just like something that's expected over there, but she's definitely not her mom. And two, I forgot what my second point was.
Nice. So just 1 point. I think she's always called Pingfa mom, but like with Chet, you'll notice she doesn't ever call him dad. She just calls him Chet. I does not like him. Okay, so as this conversation's going on, Nueng just, like, again, doesn't answer any of these questions. She walks away, which is confirmation that all the things she just said was true. And this is one of my favorite things. She tries to go back to her apartment, and little Nueng just, like, clings to her arm the entire way up this, and Big Nung's like, get off, and she's like, no. So
I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, good.
Do you think that little Nueng was most attracted to Big Nung's confidence?
Big Nung's confidence. So when they first meet, Big Nung's, I think it's her, like, intense focus, I think is what she's really into. Because the first time they ever meet, we see it at the end. Big Nueng is just intently focused on this painting that she's doing. And, like, nothing breaks her concentration. She's just insanely focused on something. And I think that's what she's into. Because when Big Nueng does this thing where she stares at little Nueng and there's as if there's nothing else in the world with this insane focus, I think that's what she likes. She's like, your focus is only on me and nothing else. She's like, I want to be that painting that you're staring at.
Very fair.
Yeah. Because, yeah, I think that little Nueng likes the challenge of breaking the focus because, yes, Big Nueng is somebody who's insanely confident, but little Nueng can get her to be shy, and I think that's what she likes. She does it in the scene in, like, a minute, where she's like, that's what she's into. She's like, I can break you out of your... I can make you unconfident. I can make you lose control. That's kind of one of those things. It's like kind of a trope where people are like, I like to see them lose control when they lose control with me. That's kind of like, I think, what little Nueng is into. And Big Nueng is like somebody who has more confidence than me because that's something that unrattles her and it's different. So I think that's kind of like the contrast they have going on.
Okay.
So speaking of that, and that basically plays out in the scene. I love this hallway scene. It's very short, but it's awesome. So Big Nueng, in her feels, is trying to, like, hide in her apartment is what she's doing. And little Nueng's like, no, you're not escaping me, right? She's clinging to her. So Big Nueng says nothing until they get to the apartment. And then we get this really quick exchange that's adorable. So Nueng, again, Big Nueng, 100% in her feels right now. And, like, she's trying her best to keep her mask of stoicism in place. It's just not working because she's trying to, like, spare little Nueng of all the bullshit, basically. She's trying to keep it to herself. It's just not working. And little Nueng, the mastermind that she is, takes advantage of this because she can see that Big Nueng's not fully in control right now. And she asks her rapid-fire questions until she gets an honest confession. And so little Nueng's like, well, you're being really weird. Is it because you're mad at me? And Big Nueng's like, no. And she's like, okay, well, then you must really hate me then. And she's like, I don't hate you. She's like, well, if it's not hate, is it love? And she says it really fast, and Big Nueng's like, yes. But she says, which means yes. And little Nueng's like her face lights up, and Big Nueng realizes what she just said. She's like, oh, fuck. And she just goes back into the apartment, and little Nueng triumphantly follows her into the apartment. She's like, yay, it worked. And in the apartment, immediately she's like, you just said yes. So what kind of love did you just confess to? Was it you like me or you more than like me? And Big Nueng's like, shh. Like, she doesn't deny that she said yes. Like, she doesn't deny any of this or confirm that she means it, but she evades the question, which is the pattern that she's constantly in. And little Nueng is trying to get her out of this. And I think she knows at this point, every time she evades questions, it's because she's striking a nerve. So anyway, so, like, Nueng doesn't deny it or confirm it, but she just moves on. And then we get to the ping fa of it all. And so little Nueng is suspicious that her mother, again, everything was going great, then her mom shows up and suddenly everything's terrible. She's like, I'm pretty sure this bitch did it. She ruins my life. That's what she does. So she starts talking about how, oh my God, this was so fucked up. So Ping Fa apparently off screen had a conversation with little Nueng because jealousy, okay? She's jealous that Big Nueng and little Nueng are close, like you said, Kaitlynn. So off screen, she's like, hey, daughter of mine, you almost didn't exist because of Big Nueng. Who does this? She fucking tells her this.
Seriously.
And little Nueng is telling Big Nueng that. She's like, my mom said I almost miscarried because of you. And Nueng's like, what? Your mother said that shit? And she's like, yeah, bitch, this is why I fucking hate my mom. And she's like, obviously this is a lie because she's a bitch. Like, she didn't want me. That's what I've been told my entire life. And suddenly my mom shows up and says that you did it. Like, to little Nueng, that seemed hella suspicious because it is. So
trust your gut, little Nueng.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, this is weird. This is suddenly the stories are changing. This is some bullshit. And this is they have a lot of conversations, the two of them, where they're not on the same page with information, and then they have conversations with each other, and it's like the way it plays out is really brilliant. And so again, Big Nueng thinks, no, I truly am the reason for the miscarriage. Or Little Nueng's like, no, I know the truth. You were not the reason. And they try to have this conversation, but nobody's on the same page. And so Little Nueng is like unwavering in her belief that Big Nueng would never harm her, right? And Big Nueng's like, well, fuck, I did. So this only makes Big Nueng feel worse, that Little Nueng is being so like, oh no, I would never believe this about you, kind of thing. My affection towards you would never change, obviously. Because Little Nueng at the heart of it is a hopeless romantic, and she's someone who stays firm in her beliefs, and she like lets her heart guide her, right? And Big Nueng's like, damn, you're being naive right now. I am trash, and you know, you should stop loving me because wow, I'm the worst. And I think at this stage in her life, like Big Nueng is the opposite, right? Because she's not somebody who's unwavering in her belief. She overthinks everything, okay? And she's at the stage in her life when the world has jaded her. It's like the optimism of youth versus like being jaded by just existing in the world and being like, wow, this kind of sucks, you know? So there's fly in here. So Little Nueng's unwavering faith in her makes Big Nueng feel even more guilty because Big Nueng believes she was the cause of Little Nueng's suffering, and she feels unworthy of this undying affection she's receiving. And Big Nueng at the core of it really feels like, she's like, if anybody had a right to genuinely hate me, it's you. And she's like, I almost caused all this suffering. And she's like, she feels she's worthy of like hate from Little Nueng, not this like undying love situation. But so she's, you know, feeling all that. And Little Nueng sees right through Big Nueng, okay, and cuts the heart of it. And she's like, you're afraid right now, right? She's like, are you afraid of us being separated? Because, like, if the miscarriage went through, they never would have met. If the bullshit with her grandmother, because remember before it came out that Nueng was the queen, the grandmother was like, you're never allowed to see my granddaughter again. So they almost got separated because of the grandmother. Suddenly that was cleared up. Now the mom's back, and the mom's trying to separate them. And so Little Nueng's putting all that together, and she's like, are you afraid that, well, we won't be able to see each other anymore? And the truth of it is, that is exactly what Big Nueng is afraid of. She is afraid of Little Nueng disappearing from her life, like now or back then, right? Because in her mind, Big Nueng has screwed up every meaningful relationship in her entire life. The only one she managed to salvage was Sam. Like, she did fuck it up a little bit when she fled the palace and cut contacts with Sam. Remember in Gap when Sam was like, you didn't even come to Song's funeral, you didn't even come see me at Song's funeral. Like, she almost fucked up that relationship too, irreparably, like with the grandmother, but she did manage to put Sam's relationship back together, partially because Sam is Sam and persistent and probably was the one that initiated a lot of that. But she keeps screwing up these big relationships. Like, her and Ping Fa didn't talk for 20 years. That was her best friend. Juan Viva exists, but like they barely talk. It's only when it's convenient for Nueng. Like, she has been isolating herself for a very long time. So now here comes Little Nueng, this person who has invoked these feelings of her in her and touched her heart in a way nobody else has ever been able to do. And Nueng is terrified of losing her. And because of this, Nueng is trying to make the best decision possible to navigate this really messy relationship / situationship that they have because of all the outside factors. And I think Nueng knows that crossing lines into the more than friends territory will jeopardize everything for the people in Little Nueng's life. And because of her own past follies in this arena, Big Nueng is trying so hard to preserve Little Nueng's entire life outside of their relationship that she's making choices that like are at her own expense to like preserve Little Nueng. That's what she's constantly trying to do. And Little Nueng has no idea what inner demons Nueng is grappling with because they've never really talked about Big Nueng's past, like any of that stuff.
No.
So she has no idea, like, the demon she's grappling with. She has no idea the extent of, like, her Big Nueng and Ping Fa's relationship and any of that stuff. So she takes this confession from Big Nueng because Big Nung basically kind of like confesses, like, yes, I don't want us to be separated. So she takes this confession from Big Nung as confirmation that Nung does care about her, that when she said yes, confessed to yes, it's love, she's like, okay, so she is into me. And so then she's an opportunist like her father. She's like, let me start flirting with you and see how this goes. I can suss out what kind of love this is by pushing your buttons. And so she basically, like, because Nung, when she mentions, like, you don't want us to be separated, Nung gets, like, tense. Like, she calls her fierce, because I think she's being protective in a way, and Lil Nung's like, ooh, you're protective of me? That's really hot. And, like, Nung gets flustered immediately. So it's Little Nung being like, yeah, you are into me. I'm right about this. Because, yeah, Little Nung is right. Big Nung does care about her, and she cares about her so much that in this moment where Little Nung is like, I knew it. I knew I should just trust my instincts. Fuck my mother. Big Nung's like, no, I have to do the right thing and tell you, like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, I have to tell you, like, you can't just keep thinking this about me. And she summons every bit of courage that she has to start to tell her this. And then, of course, Ping Fa twat blocks everything and calls, because that bitch is here to ruin everything.
She is. No, she definitely knew that things were about to progress, and she's like, I'm not having this.
I gotta stop this.
My daughter.
And you know what probably made that worse? Big Nung picks up Little Nung's phone and goes in the room to have the conversation with Ping. So Ping Fa is expecting her daughter to pick up the phone, and then it's Big Nung. Like, what does she supposed to think of that? She's like, what the fuck's going on? Anyway.
I wonder what they talked about.
Oh, seriously. And Big Nung, why did you have to go in another room to have the conversation?
Also, why did you pick up the phone? Like, I guess to yell at her for...
Yeah, I think so. She's like...
But then they had the conversation... I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know. I think she wants to yell at her in person. And I think, because I think she does this later too. I think what happened is she gets on the phone, because Little Nung's like, oh, they want to invite you over for dinner. And she's like, okay. And then I think she's royally pissed off at the fact that Ping Fa told Little Nung about this. Because not that Nung was like, I'm trying to hide things from her. I think she says it later. She's like, why did you have to, like, put all this bullshit onto Little Nung? We could have spared her of all this pain, and we, the stupid, messy adults, kept it to ourselves and spared her of all this. Now you're bringing her into this shit. I think she's mad about that. And so she gets on the phone with Ping Fa. I think she's like, I heard your mother wants me to come over for dinner. I'm coming over for dinner. I think she took that invitation and was like, invite me over right now, so she can go have this conversation with Ping Fa in person about all the bullshit she did. I think that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of that, let's get into those scenes.
But wait, I was also Little Nung in that scene where, like, Big Nung takes the phone and walks away, and she's like, what just happened? Like, again, she doesn't know Nung's motivations in any of these scenes, and she's like, why did she just take my phone? It's kind of weird.
But this is, like, the start of all, I mean, not the start, like, all the adults, because, you know, Little Nung's not an adult.
Yeah, for some reason, she's not an adult.
All the older adults are, like, keeping a lot of stuff from Little Nung. They're just going off on their own and, like, not cluing in the person who this is all revolving around.
Literally, it's the extension of you thing. Everyone is making decisions for her, not with her. The only person who does make decisions with her is Nung. But at this point, Big Nung is like, I need to spare her of all this. I've met these people. I need to spare her of all this bullshit, because she's too good for this. That's Big Nung's motivation. She's not trying to, like, impose shit on Little Nung. She's trying to protect her from the bullshit. Mm-hmm. And then eventually she's like, no, I need to involve you. You need to involve you in the bullshit. I'm sorry.
Okay, so anyway. Now it makes more sense why Big Nung is walking Little Nung home. Okay, because for some reason, I don't know if there was, like, if it looked like one scene was at night or something, because I did not connect that the dinner happened at this. I don't know why.
The timing in the show is weird. It's like, I never know how much time has actually passed.
Yeah, so I thought it was, like, a whole different day, which doesn't make sense for the scene after, but you know what? Let's just continue recapping.
Wait, can we just really quickly mention the other thing that fucks with your brain is that, okay, we had the conversation with Nueng and little Nueng in the apartment. What happened right before that? She was eating with Chet, and then the scene after this, she's gonna go eat with other. It just she's going from one meal to the next. So like for me, I'm like, what time is it? Because she just ate.
That girl will always eat.
I know, but I'm just like, what time of day is it that everyone's now eating again?
Who knows? I mean, as Americans, we can eat breakfast at like 8 or 9 and then have lunch at 12. So
it's so stupid. It doesn't matter. Weird. I'm just saying that threw me off. I was like, we went from one meal scene to another meal scene. So like, what was the time between? Anyway, not important.
Yeah. Okay, so Big Nueng's walking little Nueng home. And, like, I feel like a quarter of at least the first season, because I'm not, I have to watch the second one again. But, like, the quarter of the show is just Big Nueng guiding the little puppy back home.
Yeah. Well, it's because in season 2, little Nueng goes to school next to Big Nueng's palace, and so she just comes over.
No, the second season's the U-Haul season.
Oh, yeah.
Finally. And then this time it's not the grandmother who intercepts them, but Ping Fa, because I guess she was told to meet her outside at this point. She's like,
probably
meet me outside. So Ping Fa tells little Nueng to go inside because her grandmother is waiting for her. But really she's just trying to get rid of her so she could get Big Nueng alone to talk.
Yes.
And so this is where we get Big Nueng saying, like, why did you have to bring little Nueng into this?
Yeah.
And the jealous bitch says that it's the truth, and it's not fair that little Nueng is closer to Big Nueng when she is the reason that she is almost not born. And I'm just...
jealousy.
Like... she wasn't around. How the heck is little Nueng supposed to get close to Ping Fa when, like, you're just not there? You didn't even make an effort overseas to contact her, really.
Right. That's why I think all of this is really motivated with, like, why is Big Nueng paying so much attention to you when she never paid this much attention to me? I think that's what really all this... And she's using it under the guise of, like, that's my daughter. She should love me because biology and, you know, that kind of stuff.
And Big Nueng's like, it's not like I still want her to die. Like, you're making it seem like I still want to kill this person.
Also, she's like, it wasn't about murder. It was about you having a better life kind of thing.
And then Big Nueng, it's like, not only that, like, let them deal with it. Big Nueng wanted to be the person to have the guilt. Like, she did not want any of that to cross over to little Nueng.
Right.
And because, like, that was a decision that Big Nueng made.
Right.
It should not impact little Nueng, even though if it would have happened, it would have impacted a lot more people, apparently.
I would have killed Ping Fa. I wouldn't have this conversation.
And then this just shows how Big Nueng is basically the only person who actually cares about little Nueng's well-being.
Right.
Did you already say that?
So, yeah, I didn't realize we were, sorry.
It's okay.
So, yeah, I think what this scene is also demonstrating is, like, something, you know, you can kind of see with Big Nueng outside of this. She's the silent sufferer type. Like, she's the kind of person that would rather carry all the burden of the past than place it on other people she cares about. So in this moment, she's also even absolving Ping Fa of her guilt and is saying, just put it all on me. All that shit that happened, even though, like, it was my suggestion. She's like, you took it, allegedly, in this lie. Like, but you can trace all of that shit back to me. Just, like, put your guilt on me for all of this. And I think even though Nueng presents herself as, like, high and mighty, limited edition, all that bullshit, I think she has low self-esteem, actually, because of all the consequences of these, like, choices she keeps making, like, at this point. And she's just like, put it on me. Like, this is all my fault. Like, all of this is my fault. And, like, just let me carry it so you guys can all move on and be happy with your lives. Like, you know.
This whole situation is terrible.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't have to be Ping Fa, but here we are. She's still
in
revenge mode.
She's making this 100,000 times worse.
Oh my god. Yes.
But Big Nung eventually does get tired of having the past thrown in her face, so she begins to leave until Ping Fa stops her and is as selfish as ever by asking if Big Nung can help her get closer to her daughter. And like, once again,
What a
the
pivot.
audacity.
What a pivot. It's like, fuck you, Nung. Also, help me.
And now you're asking her for a favor.
I know.
And then she drops another bomb on Big Nung and says that she is about to marry some dude in the America and in the United States and wants to bring little Nung back with her. Like, first of all, okay, she's 20. She can fully decide where she wants to live. At least she should be able to.
Agreed.
And you want to bring someone who's we still have never really heard Little Nung speak English. Like, that whole thing of trying to force her to come to America.
That's wild. Also, like, she says, my mother doesn't know about this yet. So she's about to drop this bomb also on the grandmother that doesn't know. So Ping Fa's out here trying to, like, outmaneuver everybody and be like, I got this secret plot going on, or I'm going to take my daughter away from my mother.
Now that she doesn't need her as well.
Right. Okay. But remember in the earlier scene where Little Nung's like, are you afraid we're going to be separated? Well, here that is, from Nung's perspective, here that is coming into fruition. So truly, Nung is hearing this and she's like, I don't want her to go to America, because what Nung actually wants is for her to stay with her. Like, you know, right? She doesn't want them to be separated. But she's hearing this and she's like, well, clearly my actions keep harming everybody. I almost harmed her in a horrible way. And, like, she's like, maybe I would harm her in the future. So maybe Little Nung being away from me is the best thing that can happen. Also, she's, like, dealing with this information, too, where she's like, I guess maybe us being separated would be what's best for her in the long run. I would be devastated, but, like, maybe she would have a better life. So, like, I think that seed is being planted in Nung's brain right now. You know, it's that, like, selfish desire to preserve her happiness and keep Little Nung versus, like, the selflessness of being like, well, maybe Little Nung could have a better life without me, and isn't that better? Like, so she's starting.
The answer
she's
is no, Big Nung.
No,
she needs you. You're the only person who's there for her.
Literally, I know, but, like, that is Big Nung's line of thinking that's going to permeate the rest of the season.
Yeah, but unfortunately, before they could talk anymore. Or maybe fortunately, you know, like, this is enough.
Oh my god, what a pivot this conversation was with Ping Fa. Like, poor Big Nung cannot keep up with this woman. She's like, what? The curveballs in this scene.
In every scene that she's in.
Literally.
But Little Nung interrupts them, and
thank God.
Then Ping Fa makes another decision for everybody, and is like, how would you like to go to the amusement park on Saturday? And then all Little Nung hears is that Big Nung's gonna be there, so she's like, oh cool, like, to hang out with Big Nung? Yes, let's go now. So now Big Nung is forced to go with Ping Fa and Little Nung to this amusement park.
And I think part of the reason why Little Nung was so excited is that it's her birthday, and I don't think Big Nung knows that. So Ping Fa is just like, hey, let's celebrate your birthday at the amusement park with Big Nung, and leaves that part out of the conversation. So Little Nung's like, yay, that's exactly what I want. I want to spend my birthday with her. And then Big Nung's like, oh, what is going on? So there's also that underlying tone, which just makes this sadder.
Yeah. And then Little Nung goes to hug Big Nung, but Ping Fa pulls her back and then basically, like, sends her inside. I'm like, just let her hug her. I know that you were jealous of this relationship, but, like, let the little puppy get her hug.
I know. It's a poor baby.
And then we get to this awkward family dinner that I did not realize was the same day for some reason.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, so the grandmother did a 180 and is now singing Big Nung's praises. But Big Nung's not buying it and, like, downplays everything that the grandmother is saying. So she's like, nah, I dropped out of college. Oh, I'm not that great. Like, this is very different from their last meeting. Yeah, love the last one as well.
I want to point out in this scene, because they're going to have another family dinner. So later to contrast this. So let's talk about the way they're sitting, like at the dinner, okay? Or whatever this is. I don't know if it's lunch, dinner, but at the meal. We'll just say that. Okay, so grandmother is the matriarch of the family. So she's at the head of the table. Makes sense. That is her spot. But how is everybody else seated? So usually the person on the right, okay, is the person of honor. It's like, right hand man.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Nueng is in the position of honor right now. Okay. In the family structure, though, the next in line is Pingfa. Okay, so Pingfa normally would be sitting there, and then little Nueng is on the left because she's the youngest, right? So the way they're sitting is really weird, because not so weird that Nueng is the person of honor, Big Nueng, because she is. Because, again, the grandmother wanted to invite the queen over so she can get to know the queen, right? That's what this is all about. But it's really interesting that little Nueng is sitting in number 2 spot. And then Pingfa is next to little Nueng. So Pingfa's like the outsider in this seating arrangement. So I'm sure the grandmother...
As she should be.
Right, and I'm sure the grandmother insisted on this because she's on the outs truly with her daughter, and her daughter is the stranger in this household because she doesn't fucking live here. So I think that's what it's kind of demonstrating a little bit, just by how they're sitting. Then to your point, the conversation. So yes, this dinner is super awkward, but also really revealing, because it seems from this questioning from the grandmother that the grandmother is not actually a fan of Nueng, because when Nueng responds, honestly, she's like, oh, I hear you speak 3 languages. And Nueng's like, no, I only really am fluent in 2. And then the grandmother's like, oh. Like, her responses are just like, I knew I didn't like you, like, the whole time. So basically, what is this dinner? It's grandmother's a social climber. So she's like, ooh, I can say I had an ML at my house. That's really what this is. She's not interested in Nueng. She does not like Nueng. And Nueng proves that, like, no, really, it's cool. You don't need to like me. By her frank answers to all of these things, where she's like, I didn't get my math. She's like, I heard you have a master's. And she's like, well, almost. I just got bored at the end and just dropped out. And like, little Nueng is, like, loving every single thing she's fucking saying, especially when her mother is like, don't be so humble. You were, like, number 1 in high school and all this stuff. And little Nueng's like, tell me more things about her in high school.
Yeah, Pingfa, tell her more.
Tell her more. She's dying to know about stories about Nueng. So, like, and again, the grandmother's face is like, ooh, what a disappointment. But little Nueng's like, yep, isn't she great? Like, she doesn't care about any of this. She's just, I know you as a person, and I like who you are as a person, not what your statistics are or whatever the hell, But I think this is just reinforced that, like, the grandmother does not like Nueng. She's never gonna like Nueng.
No. That grandmother, man. That's all I got. All right, so hold on, let me get to the scene. I scrolled too far. Okay. After the dinner is finally over, Fa walks Big Nueng out, and this is where Big Nueng switches things on Pingfa and shows that she really doesn't know what has been happening. So she tells Pingfa, if you want little Nueng to love you, you should know that your mom used to hit her with a stick. If you want your daughter to love you, you should protect her first. And this is a big thing, because she's like, no one is protecting her. Like, right now, I'm the only person who's even able to. So, figure out your shit.
This is projection, Your Honor, because why is Nueng at this dinner? Because I'm pretty sure she invited herself to do all these things. So, and I think that Nueng, Big Nueng, like, if she, because again, she's technically the outsider, like, she's not part of that family. And even though she sees these things she thinks are wrong happening, she has no right in this social structure to say anything to the grandmother. But Pingfa does. Even though but you saw the seating arrangement, she's technically the outsider in the family because she's not living with them. She is still little Nueng's biological mother and has a right to be like, what the fuck are you doing with my daughter, So I think Nueng knows that, and she's like, because I think Nueng would love to be like, fuck you, old lady, what the hell are you doing? She would love to say that, but she can't. And I love where she's like, hey, like, protect her, because that's how you show somebody you love them. It's like, again, projection, Your Honor. That's exactly what Nueng is doing. It's just nobody understands that quite yet, but it'll all add up later. We'll get there. We'll get there. It all adds up. All of Nueng's actions are very telling.
Yeah. Okay, so then Ping Fa goes back inside to face off with the grandmother. It's a showdown, if you will. So Ping Fa comes in asking the grandmother, why didn't she tell her that she hit little Nueng? I'm like, why would like this be a thing that actually comes up in conversation? Be like, oh yeah, I hit your daughter.
Well, I guess like it could come up where it's like, how's my daughter doing? And then she goes off on a rant and be like, she came home late again, so I had to discipline her. How did you discipline her? That's how it would come up, but yeah.
I'm sure they don't talk like that, though. So
I don't think they talk at all about how is my daughter doing. I think that's the bigger problem. I don't think they even have that conversation.
That's like a big issue.
Right.
Like, how's Nueng doing? Who?
Right.
Oh, never mind.
Never mind.
Okay, so the grandmother is like, why do I have to tell you? It's my right to raise her however I want. And I feel like even though the grandmother did send off Ping Fa, I don't think Ping Fa made any even like advances to try and know her daughter or like give it any indication that she wanted to be her mother.
She was 16. Like, she was 16.
I know, I just mean like throughout the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so like, why are we here, right? So on the surface, all of this tracks, right? Yeah, the grandmother spent 20 years raising little Nueng. She's like, I've been acting as her mother the whole time. Like, where the fuck have you been? Sure, that tracks. But like, why are we here? We're here because the grandmother sent Ping Fa away. You think Ping Fa had a say in whether or not she was going to America? Like, no, the grandmother was like, you're leaving. She basically exiled her, probably against her will. And so what the grandmother did is she robbed Ping Fa of her mother-daughter relationship with little Nueng. And little Nueng, the same thing. They have no relationship because of the grandmother. Because she was just, again, trying to avoid the shame of having a teenage unwed daughter. Like, you know. So Ping Fa was robbed of that opportunity. And so I think my other question, too, is always like, why is Ping Fa showing up now? To your point, it seems like Ping Fa has not showed an interest in little Nueng. And also, like, what was the narrative that little Nueng has been fed about her mother? Like, I think everything that she knows came from the grandmother, who is trying to be like, well, your mom doesn't want you. That's why she left. She's not going to be like, I sent that bitch away to avoid a scandal. Like, why would you tell that to a child? I think she was sowing all this dissent with little Nueng, and that's what little Nueng grew up believing. I think that all came from the grandmother who's trying to cover up this scandal, right? This is all coming from her. And so why is Ping Fa here now? And why is she so adamant about having a relationship with little Nueng now? I think it's because she can, right? Because little Nueng, like we keep saying, is a fucking adult now. She's about to graduate high school and be seen as an adult, right? When she goes to university. So I think in Ping Fa's mind, maybe she's like, okay, once that transition happens, the grandmother has less of a right to control her because she will be seen in society as an adult. So I think that's why she's coming in now to be like, you're still technically a child, you're on the cusp of adulthood. Can we have a relationship now when my mother has less of a hold on you? I'm in a better position to take care of you. Because before she was a teenager, like, she was in school. She didn't have her shit together. She's like, finally, I'm getting married. I have a stability in my life. I can take care of you. Let me do it now. This is the last chance we'll ever have. I think that's why she's showing up now, you know? But the way she's going about this is in a controlling manner. And I don't think she means it to be. I think it's just like, that's the playbook. That's how her mother, she doesn't know what it's like to be a mother, but that's the mother figure she has, is this grandmother. So she's like, I'm trying to act like what you would do. You're the only mother figure I've ever known. So she's trying to act like her mother, and little Nueng's like, I hate this from everybody. Like, so I think that's really what's happening here. And the reason I don't really hate Ping Fa, yeah, she's a messy bitch, and it's entertaining, obviously. But from watching her behavior, especially her reaction when Big Nueng's like, hey, your mother's been doing some fucked up shit. what was Pingfa's reaction? It wasn't like that was her right as much. She immediately goes in there and is like, what the fuck were you doing? I think that of all the relatives, she's the only one that genuinely cares about Little Nung the most. She doesn't express it the way Big Nung does, but like she does. She comes in here to defend Little Nung. And so I don't think that she wants this relationship because of status, which is why Chet wants it. I think she genuinely wants her daughter to love her, and she just has no idea how to navigate that. Because, again, these are like 30-year-olds who don't know what they're in these positions for the first time. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's a fucking mess, right? So I think her motivations are less creepy or I don't know. Selfish is it's all selfish. I think it's less like artificial is a better word. The way Chet is like, now that I know she's biologically my daughter, suddenly I want to control her life and make sure she dates the right people. Like, he just starts trying to control her immediately. Yeah. Whereas Pingfa's like, I just want a relationship with her. It seems more genuine to me. But I don't know. I think the fact that Pingfa goes in there immediately and confronts her mother, who she's fucking terrified of. You can see the way this conversation goes. Immediately, like, the grandmother puts down Pingfa and she starts becoming a 16-year-old girl who was also probably trapped in this house. Like, you know, she's got trauma too. And it's just like,
that's fair. I didn't think about that. Like, she did go, like, basically defend her daughter
immediately
right away.
Went to defend her. Yeah, exactly. I think that's why, like, when I was watching this for the very first time, I'm like, again, the big theme of the show is learning from the past to make the future better. And when I was watching Pingfa, I think I said it in our reaction videos, I'm like, I feel like she's the one who's going to break the cycle of this family, because she's in the middle of this. She lived the life where she was exiled and fully controlled and, like, lost her relationship with her daughter. And I think she has to be the one to, like, put everybody back together, the way Sam was kind of in the middle of the whole family. And she does at the end. It's very subtle, but she is the one that bridges all the gaps and, like, does do what's best for her daughter, like, and does do it. And you see here that she does care about her.
As if you will.
She what?
Fills in the blanks.
She fills in the blank, yeah. Exactly. So.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my Pingfa rant.
Okay, so then we get into another big part of all of this. And the grandmother uses the power that she has in this situation and throws it back into Pingfa. Okay, restart. So the grandmother throws all of this, like, directness. What is the word? Sorry. What is the word? Hold on. I gotta figure out the word.
Okay, well, I guess I'll say my thing first. It's why you think about it. Okay, so then we transition into, like, the miscarriage shit. And so Pingfa says in this conversation with her mother, I got so stressed to the point that I had to give birth prematurely. Okay, so basically, like, what she thinks happened is that she was so fucking stressed out in the third trimester that's why she gave birth. Because, like, it's one of those survival things with your body. When you're stressed out, like, super stressed out, you release different hormones. And I think in pregnancy terms, if your body's super, super stressed out, the body thinks, oh, I have to focus on keeping you alive, not the thing that's growing, and it will expel. So this actually can happen. This is a biologically plausible reason for miscarriaging. Why the fuck was she so stressed out, though? I think this is all coming from her mother. I think that by the third trimester, she was showing, so she couldn't hide the pregnancy anymore. And the mother was, like, I think doing you've seen her control Little Nung. I think she was trying to control every aspect of her life at this point. It was like, I'm sending you to America, all this shit. And I think she was stressing Pingfa the fuck out so much that she did give birth early. I think that is actually what happened. And it all comes back to the grandmother. I think this is all the grandmother's fault, truly.
I mean, that's very plausible, because the grandmother, I don't like this grandmother. I don't know who I dislike. I think I might dislike this grandmother more than grandmam.
Again, it's just this controlling fucking this is the bad side of, like, that traditional family shit structure where it's like, you're my property. when you can't control people, you can't. And the more you try to do it, the more you just damage the other person, each other. So that's why we're having this like big movement now, at least in America, where people are like going no contact with their parents that behave like this. And the parents are like, I don't understand where I went wrong. This is what I was taught to do as a parent. And like, why did I go? You're supposed to love me no matter what. And it's like, no, you don't get to like damage people's lives. And then when they're like, I'm setting a boundary, no, be mad about it. Nobody's setting boundaries with this grandmother. Because again, Pinkfa was a child. She was a fucking child when this happened. Like, she had no autonomy. Like, legally, children have no autonomy. Like, what the hell was she supposed to do? She was completely at the mercy of her mother. And this is how her mother handled it. She thought that was the right thing to do, and it just fucked everybody up. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is plausibly what happened with little Nueng. I think Pinkfa was stressed out because of her mother, and, like, her hormones were going crazy, and, like, that led to, like, because she keeps saying a miscarriage. Giving birth prematurely is not a miscarriage. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
But I think her labor came early because she was so fucking stressed out because of her mother. I think that, and then little Nueng ended up in the NICU and all that stuff. I think that's actually what ended up happening.
I think maybe just in either translation or in their minds, like, they thought miscarriage because Pinkfa almost didn't survive. Labor. Not Pinkfa, but little Nueng almost didn't survive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think when they say that, they mean premature labor. She went into labor early. I think it's because she was stressed out. This makes sense. Yeah, and then Pinkfa also brings up the fact that so then the grandmother immediately pivots and starts defending Big Nueng. And she's like, why the fuck did you lie to her? And like all this stuff. And how could you disgrace me in front of the queen? And I love that Pinkfa's like, wait a minute. You were on my side until you figured out she was a fucking royalty. And now suddenly you're on her side. And I think this behavior from her mother must really hurt Pinkfa. Because what the fuck is their mother-daughter relationship? First of all, and
nothing.
Right. And her mother's just showing that she's such a social gold digger. She's willing to like throw her under the bus again because of status. That's why Pinkfa was sent to America. So she's not out here being nice to Big Nueng because she's Pinkfa's friend or she's little Nueng's friend. Like, it's just, it's so fun. Like, poor I feel bad for Pinkfa in this card because like that was her friend too, and she's like, oh, you want to get to know my friend? Finally, you never wanted to get to know my friends, but it's like clearly you're just social gold digging and you don't actually want to know anybody, and then you're gonna take her side and not mine. I'm your daughter. Yeah.
Damn it, Theora, you're making me feel for the jealous bitch.
I mean, again, these are flawed human beings. They're not good or bad. It's just like they have their own point of views.
You make great points. There's a lot more to Pinkfa and the trauma that she's gone through. Like, she had her child ripped away from her.
Literally. She had her childhood abruptly end. This is the minute she was pregnant. Her childhood was over. And then her mother just controlled everything after that and just robbed her. She completely changed the trajectory of her own life. And Pinkfa's at a point where she's like, hey, look, it worked out in the end. I'm in a good situation. I'm about to marry somebody good. My life, I went to a good school. I met good people. Like, it worked out for me. But, like, that was all out of her control. She had no say in that.
Yeah. But the grandmother brought all this all up to try and make everything Pinkfa's fault again. But then eventually Pinkfa's like, don't change the subject. Like, why? Did you really hit my kid with a stick?
Yeah. I love that she does this. She's like, no. Answer my fucking question.
Yeah, it's like, really we're not changing the subject here. And the grandmother explodes and tells her that she doesn't want little Nueng to be like her. But now she's overcorrecting the situation and making life even more miserable. Because I feel like Pinkfa still had a little bit more freedom than we see little Nueng have.
For sure.
But that didn't end well, which is why little Nueng is suffering for her mother's actions.
Yeah.
And this family really needs therapy, but at least the grandmother. But this whole family needs like group family therapy.
Yeah, I agree. You can skip my note. I've already said that.
Okay. So, after this, we get another family reunion. This time they all are actually interacting together. But before we get there, I think it's a great time to bring up...
Oh my god, you actually made this?
To recap the recap, really quickly, I titled it All in the Blank instead of All in the Family.
For those listening at home, Kaitlynn actually has a whiteboard with conspiracy theory strings to explain how everybody's connected with each other.
It actually took a long time. It's really hard tying tiny little string. I had to use little thread instead of actual string because I couldn't find anything. All right, so we have everybody on the board. You can't really tell what the colors are, but the purple ones are the bloodlines.
Oh my god.
Okay, so first we have the grandmother connected to the Pingfa, the Pingfa connected to the little Nueng connected to Chet, but I should have said it the other way because Chet's the dad. Anyway, okay, then we have the grandmam, and grandmam is connected to Big Nueng. And that is all the bloodlines. Okay. Now we get into...
Fuck Sam. Sam doesn't need to be on there.
Well, no, Sam's not the web. So, originally I was going to do the past as one, the present, and then I was going to do the future one as well. It was too much work, and I needed to do other notes. So, why we're here? We're here because Little Nueng and Big Nueng are connected by a red string because they're in love.
The red string of fate, yeah. No, that's good.
That's not the only red string on here. No, not at all. Okay, so you have two more little red strings here, but they are laced with black strings. Okay? Because they are... That love did not work out. And it was never love in general. Okay, so first, we'll go with Chet. So, Chet... Apparently, for some reason, the printer made his nose and mouth and eyebrows red. I don't know why, but it's really funny.
That's fair.
So Chet and Big Nueng were supposed to get married. Okay, so Chet is Little Nueng's dad. So if they were to have actually gotten married, Big Nueng would have been Little Nueng's stepmother. Okay.
Yeah.
So that did not work out. There's black in that red line, which is a great thing. So, going from there, Big Nueng and Pingfa also have a red and black line. And we decapitate Chet to get there.
That sounds great.
So Pingfa, in love with Big Nueng. Okay? Did not have any feelings.
Present tense.
Yes. She currently would like this to happen, but it's not. But if it did happen, and they got together, Big Nueng, Little Nueng, Big Nueng would be Little Nueng's stepmother again. So now, we also have to get that Pingfa and Chet. They also have a line. It's neon green, so you can't see it. That's not it. Hold on. It's this line.
Got it.
This one. You can kind of play the banjo on here with all these strings. They had a one-night stand, and that's how this one came to be. They didn't get... I was it technically could be a black and red line, but there was no love there ever at all. No, I feel like they were both trying to... I feel like they both were in love with this one at that time. So
literally.
It's just, if you look at this up close, you just notice there's so many triangles. There's so many triangles. It's ridiculous.
And it's just 4 people.
Yep. And then if you see up here, there's a line here. Why is that line there?
Are we speculating about the grandmothers?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh no, I've suspected about the Grandmam for a while. I think the Grandmam was in the Loyal Pin universe, and there's something going on with her.
So, no, this line is here because the Grandmam lives in the haunted lesbian house.
She does.
If you don't know what the haunted lesbian house is, go watch our Loyal Pin pilot reaction. And Theora has this whole theory that everybody who lives in this house is a lesbian, and then the house is haunted with lesbians. And so, spoiler alert, she dies.
Right, adding to the haunted lesbians.
But, like, I think they might have had, like, a slight thing in the past because, I don't know, their families just always seem to know each other in every generation. So there was just, like, a fling, kind of, but they were like, we can never be together.
Right. It's like
and then she
Princess
dies.
Pad situation.
She dies, and she stays alive for a little longer. She makes out. And by the end, when they both die, they both accepting of lesbians, which means they're accepting of each other. So they get to be together in the afterlife.
Perfect.
They don't always get along, though. They have a lot of ghost arguments, but they're together.
Way too much thought to the grandmothers. I love it.
Originally, they were just going to be like a backfold, and I was going to flip them up at the end and be like, by the way, these two are together. But yeah, so that's the murder board. It will be on my wall. Actually, I might put it back there next to the BGE sign.
You should.
I hope this was worth it. I hope I explained it well enough, even though we've recapped this like 3 times at this point in this episode. Yes, I wanted to follow through on a promise I made in the reaction video.
You're welcome, for those that have been waiting.
And for Theora. Anyway, back to the family reunion at the amusement park. Mom, Dad, and almost stepmother twice, plus, and almost stepmother and current lover of Little Nueng, almost, all come together to celebrate Little Nueng's birthday. And the stalker's there as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Ping Fa and Little Nueng are just not happy that Big Nueng invited Chet and Folk. They're like, why are boys here?
Right.
Like this isn't what it's supposed to be. No. And then we get a flashback where we see Chet annoying Big Nueng. Like, that is where where Little Nueng gets it, but Chet's just annoying. Like, nothing cute about it. So Chet's annoying Big Nueng about Big Nueng letting Ping Fa get close to Little Nueng, but not him. And all I can say is Big Nueng is not Little Nueng's keeper. All these people have to do is have an actual conversation with Little Nueng, but that's too much effort for them.
No, it's Big Nueng is the Little Nueng whisperer. That's what this is. They're always like, you're the one that knows how to talk to her. And Nueng's like, I just fucking talk to her. It's not rocket science, you idiots. That's literally all these conversations with the parents. They're like, can you, Little Nueng whisperer, could you go make this happen? She's like,
we don't see the parents ever try. I mean,
no.
Okay, you make some valid points for Ping Fa, but she doesn't know how to be a mother.
No, she doesn't know what she's doing. It's just like, it's also like Nueng. They're at these stages in their lives where like they had fucked up childhoods, and so like we didn't get to do this when we were younger. So we're trying to figure it out now in our 30s, and we're fucking it all up. And Chet's just oblivious to anyone that isn't himself, and it's annoying.
Yeah, and in this flashback, we now see that Chet no longer needs a DNA test because of his ego. And I understand, like, he needed the DNA test to, like, prove. But, because he just says she is cute, and her face looks like his. So that's confirmation enough. I would have assumed the confirmation would be when Ping Fa told him that she was pregnant 20 years ago.
Right. Also, like, Chet, weren't you the same person at the beginning of this series where you're like, hey, your face looks familiar. You didn't recognize yourself then, but suddenly now you're like, oh, yeah, it's me. That makes sense. This man is so full of himself. Like, ego is the perfect word.
Okay, but then we see that Folk
is
overhears this conversation.
What was he doing there? Was he still stalking Little Nueng? Like, why was he randomly overhearing this?
My theory that I just came up with right at this point is that Folk is homeless, And is just like
No.
living in a closet
No. It's
in
terrible.
this market.
He was definitely stalking that stall. But he learned nothing.
But little Nun barely knows this dude. Like, she definitely does not want to see him on her birthday.
No. She doesn't want to see any of these people on her birthday except Big Nun.
No. She's like, Big Nun, you're the only one here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're all just standing around awkwardly. And obviously the only person who can, like, talk is Big Nun.
Right.
Because everyone's just so awkward. Well, Little Nun, like, Little Nun's just like, I don't know these people. I don't know any of these people except Big Nun right now.
But literally, like, these people don't know each other either. Everybody's a stranger to everybody. That's why it's so absurd and awkward. It's like, everyone's like, yeah, we want to get to know this one person here, but nobody knows each other. It's fucking weird.
So Big Nun's like, tells Little Nun that she's the center of everyone's attention today. Finally, first of all. And Little Nun points to herself to clarify that she means her. It's adorable.
This is so cute. She's like, little old me.
But it's also sad because she's never really been the center of attention. She's very much the seen and not heard child. Except when Big Nun's around.
She also doesn't like being the center of attention. That's the other thing where this, like...
Yeah.
This was a bad idea because she doesn't... That's why she, like... You know, she admits it later when they start talking about, like, careers and stuff. She's like, I don't like being in the spotlight. And so, like, this makes her so uncomfortable. Not only are they strangers and she doesn't want to be around them, she's like, now suddenly I'm the focus. Anxiety, you know?
But then...
Oh my god, this is hilarious.
Big Nun goes down the list of, like, why each person is there and why so their attention is on her. Like, no, it's not because of your birthday.
Right.
Your mother wants to get closer to you. Chet, she's like, this congratulations. So you got a father.
Yeah, congrats. He's your dad.
And Chet is like, shouldn't you have said that more carefully? But, like, Chet, that's exactly how she told you had a daughter.
What did you expect?
We can't expect more.
Why do you leave her in charge of this and then you're like, wow, Big Nun, I can't believe you're handling it this way. It's like, come on now.
But I was watching this and I noticed something and I'm like, Chet says that he's her father 30 seconds before Big Nun goes down the list.
I think he says it privately to Pingfa. He doesn't say it to Little Nun, which is insane. Why didn't you two tell her that you're her father? Like, neither Pingfa nor Chet have this conversation with Little Nun.
But no, like, he just turns his head to her. Like, they're not, like, private. He doesn't whisper it. He uses the same volume.
No, I mean, it seemed like they were having a private conversation, but yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, and then Folk just secretly likes her.
Oh
and she's God. Like, I don't care.
But I love the way... You got it, sorry.
It's just kind of like a slap in the face to Little Nun as well. Because she's like, why would you bring someone here who likes me when you know I like you?
We'll get into that. It's a valid question. But what I do love from this scene is that nobody knows why Folk is here or who he is except Big Nun. And so I love that when she says this, the parents stare him down and he's just like, oh fuck, I didn't know her parents are gonna be here. Like, it gets so much more awkward when they're like, this is the boy that's romantically chasing your daughter. And they're like, what? And he's like, hi. It's so awkward.
It's okay. Her parents are also chasing her.
They're chasing her friend, Big Nun. Anyway. Okay, so I'll answer your question in a second because I have an idea of, like, why Big Nun did all this stuff. Okay. So in general, poor Little Nun does not get the birthday party amusement park experience that she wanted. Because really, she wanted, like we said, she wanted to enjoy... I think I said stop. Okay. She wanted to enjoy her birthday party clinging to Big Nun. That's what she wanted. She's like, oh, let's go to a haunted house. And, like, so I can just hold you the whole time. That's all she wanted. But instead of doing that, because of literally everything we've talked about this episode, Big Nun is in her head right now. And she's like, we cannot cross lines. So she respectfully keeps her distance from Little Nun the whole time and gives her the opportunity to bond with her family. Because, like, Little Big Nung, remember, orphan, doesn't have that opportunity. She's like, hey, this is probably a good opportunity. Maybe you should do this. And then Folk. Why is Folk here? I think that, okay, remember the crux of what's going on with Big Nung right now is she's like, Ping Fu's in her head, right? Where she's like, hey, I'm planning on taking her to America with me so she could have a better life or whatever. And I think Big Nung has thought about that because she's in conflict over like, if we cross lines into, romantic stuff, that's what's best for little Nung. Somebody who's just entering adulthood. She says it later throughout the show. Because, like, when you're 20 and, like, about to go to college, your life changes when you go to university, college. You meet a bunch of new people. You're exposed to a bunch of new ideas. Big Nung's been through this. She knows what that's like. And she's like, if she's attached to me and only me, somebody who's out of that lifestyle, will that stunt her growth? Will she regret it one day that I held her back? That's what she's worried about. She's worried about, like, if I'm selfish, I might ruin her life because I keep ruining everybody's lives every time I try to do something that I think is right. So she's like, hey, maybe Ping Fu is right. Maybe somebody else knows better than me. So I think why she invites Folk is she's like, okay, here's somebody her age who's interested in her. Maybe if she had the chance to explore romance with people her own age, she'll realize this fixation on me isn't real and, like, whatever. I think that's really why she invites Folk. Also, she says in the chat, too, she's like, isn't it weird if this 20-year-old or 21-year-old goes to the amusement park with three people in their late 30s? What the hell are we going to talk about? Isn't that weird? Like, it's her birthday. So I think that's also the other reason. Like, let's invite a person her age to her birthday party. Also, like, it's weird. But the problem is that Little Nung is so gay, this was never going to work. Big Nung. Like, this was never going to work. And I think Big Nung, on some level, knew that. And that's why she chose Folk. She's like, I want her to see what it's like, but I don't want it to go anywhere. So I think it's, like, a way of, like, unselfishly but selfishly, like, being like, I see we tried and it failed. Oh, no.
Yes, that's fair, because Little Nung just is trying to cling to Big Nung the whole day. Yep. And stay attached to her. And I don't blame her.
No.
First of all, Big Nung.
Big Nung. I mean, yeah, girl. Also, that outfit, Big Nung. Like, yeah. Why'd you dress super hot for this occasion if you didn't want her to do this? Again, that's the thing. Like, Nung's actions do not always match her thought process because she's very conflicted. So her methods are all over the place right now because she doesn't want to lose Little Nung. That's the crux of it. But she's like, maybe I should. But then she's like, here's a man. I know you don't like men. She's like, oh no, see, it didn't work, damn it. She's like, I don't want you to fall in love with me. Let me just really hot. Again, like, what are you doing?
Let me just really hot. But no one is having a good time.
No.
This is a should have just stayed home moment. Like, everyone's just going through the motions at this park. And I'm like, if I was there right now, I'd wish I was home just watching TV.
But also, like, this is a super weird situation because it's a bunch of strangers trying to get to know one person. That's really weird. Like, that's more of this would have been better if it was just Ping Fu and Big Nung. I think Ping Fu could have bonded with Little Nung in smaller groups, but you make the group too big and it doesn't work. So this is destined to fail. And like you said, basically nobody gets what they want. And Little Nung is sulking over Big Nung because that's the person she wants to bond with. And her parents are like, well, she's not bonding with me. What the fuck, Nung? You promised. And so once again, these fucking idiot parents put Big Nung in the middle of their fucking family drama. And Big Nung is a tired 30-year-old, so she just goes along with the insanity because she knows the other part of this is like, they trust her. Like, they put all this trust in her as the outsider. And she's like, well, fuck. You really shouldn't be trusting me because I'm terrible. And then she's also like, I'm romantically interested in her and this is bad. So it's like, she's being put in a really shitty situation. And she doesn't want to burn bridges, really, with these people. But more importantly, if she remains in their confidence, as a confidant, she can continue to speak on Little Nung's behalf and protect her from the sidelines, which is what she's using her influence to do. So even though to Little Nung, it appears that, like, Big Nung is being distant and stuff, she's protecting her in the background from these crazy people that are trying to control her. And to me, that's Big Nung's way of like demonstrating she loves little Nung without crossing any lines, which is really important.
Yeah. But I find it really annoying how the parents treat little Nung. Like, as we stated many times during reaction videos, to the point where I was editing, I'm like, I hate us if we say this one more time. But anyway, like we said many times, she is 20.
She's 21 in this scene. She just
21
turned 21
now. 21. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
She can drink in America. Like, good lord.
And like the scene that I'm really talking about right now is that her mom is guiding her with her hands on her shoulders while she and Chet keep asking if she wants different foods while also pointing in the direction of the food to get her to look. This is what you do with 2-year-olds. Like, you want to go get a hot dog over there? That's what it reminds me of. And I'm just like, ask her if she's hungry. Let her tell you if she is and if she wants anything.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with her. Is the really big issue. Like, again, and so they're like, daughter, treat her like a child. So like you said, they're treating her like she's 2 years old. She's a fucking adult now. You guys the problem is, like, they suddenly want to be parents, but their child's an adult. And so, like, you guys, you lost the opportunity to baby her, like, treat her like a young child, because you weren't her parents at that stage. You were estranged people who gave her DNA. And at this point, suddenly you're like, I want to make up for those 20 years and treat you like I should have treated you for the past 20 plus years or whatever. And she's like, I'm 21. What the fuck are you doing? I don't want any of this. This is weird. And the only person watching this being like, this is weird, is Big Nug. She's like, this is weird.
They're overcompensating, really.
Exactly. They are overcompensating. And they're doing what they want, not what Lil Nung wants or needs, right? So basically, that motivates Ping Fa to push Big Nung to her breaking point. Because, she's like, hey, we made a deal that you were going to help me reconcile with my daughter. So that's not going to work if she clearly still loves you the most, despite, you being the villain in the story. So what the fuck? And Nung's like, fine. You want me to relinquish my hold over your daughter? I'll make her hate me more than, anything else in the world. Will that make you happy? And Ping Fa's like, goody, yeah, that's what I want. Because she wants to swoop in and get her daughter's affection. She's like, I can't do that if you have a monopoly over her emotions at this point. And Big Nung's like, fine. What's the opposite of love? I'll make her hate me. Great.
Of course, Ping Fa would blame Big Nung for her relationship not going anywhere with Little Nung. And I feel like Little Nung's family is definitely the nothing is my fault, it's everyone else's type of people. Except Little Nung.
Yeah,
I don't think Little Nung's like that.
No, definitely not. She has the most emotional maturity out of any of these adults, and she consistently shows that over and over again. She acts childish, but like she has emotional intelligence, which is it is actually the skill of like wisdom. So yeah,
I know we have talked about Ping Fa and what's going on with her, but she is so selfish because Big Nung is the only good thing in Little Nung's life, and you can clearly see that Big Nung is the reason she is happy. Obviously, they can't because, they don't want to believe that. But yet, Ping Fa wants Big Nung to make Little Nung hate her. Like, that is not going to help your relationship at all. And again, the issue is that no one has tried to get to know Little Nung. No effort is being made. They are trying to pretend like the past didn't happen the way it did. Like, they're trying to pretend like they are going to the past right now. But again, like we talked about, that they lost those 20 years. They're never going to get them back. And once they learn that and actually have an adult conversation with her, maybe I think that's the only way she would actually open up to them. And they get to see the real her, because they're not getting anything from her. She's shutting down every time they're even in her vicinity.
Yeah, it's like they need to learn to move forward, not dwell on the past, essentially.
Yeah. They have no skills to do that now.
These two are acting, but how is Pink acting? Pink was acting like a child right now. She's like me, 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 and like it takes her because I think she goes back to her mom's house and she regresses back to being a child, and so we're getting childlike behavior from her. Chet has no excuse for his bullshit. But Chet, I think
no, we're never gonna make excuses for that dude.
No, he's just the worst. I just can't stand him.
He is.
He's the worst.
But poor little Nueng's having a terrible birthday. Like, this is like one of the worst birthdays. Hopefully, because if it gets worse than this for her, like, oh, that poor girl. But she has to be surrounded by strangers when really all she wants to do is hang out with Big Nueng.
Big Nueng better make it up for her 22nd birthday is all I'm saying. We don't get to see that, but I hope off screen.
I'm sure she does. She
gave her the best birthday
every birthday. You could just tell, like, little Nueng probably throws it in her face, like, every birthday. It'd be like, just do this for me. Remember my 21st?
Remember that? Remember that? Yeah.
But Big Nueng right now is just trying to make everybody happy, which, you know, never works. Because she really believes that little Nueng would be happier and better off if she had more people in her life. Because Big Nueng, oh my gosh, I'm getting Big and Little Nueng confused right now. Big Nueng knows what it's like to not have anyone. Like, she slowly lost everybody in her life. And I think she wishes that she had her parents in her life as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really excellent point. I agree with you. I think the other motivation for Big Nueng is that's why she's not trying to burn bridges. I think she's trying to make sure that little Nueng has a support system, because Big Nueng, like you said, was robbed of that from circumstance, like, the parents dying, but she still had her sisters. She had the grandmam, for better or worse. And then when she made the decision that, like, my happiness, my self-preservation is more important than my family, I'm leaving the palace, Nueng sacrificed that support system with her family as a consequence of that, because the grandmother's like, you can't, basically it's probably like, you can't be a member of this family if you fucking leave. And she's like, well, I'm more important, I'm leaving. So Nueng had to sacrifice that. So she can kind of see the road that little Nueng is headed down, because little Nueng's like, I don't give a shit about them. I don't know these people. She's like, I just want to be with you. She's, remember how did the first episode start? I'm running away from my grandmother. Like, she's already in that lane of being like, I will sacrifice my family for my own happiness. And Big Nueng's like, maybe you can have your cake and eat it too. And, like, it doesn't have to be like this, because, like, there are consequences to that you can't ever, like, take back. There's things you can't take back, or, like, even when you move on, they still hurt. And I think she's really, in the long run, trying to spare her of all of that. And the problem is that little Nueng is young. And when you're young, you think more short term. It's, especially with children, it's instant gratification. It's like, I want the popcorn now, not later. I need it now. I want happiness now. And Big Nueng's like, that's great. And sometimes that's the right move. But she's like, in the long run, this is going to cause you so much pain if you just think in the short term. And I think
you're always going to be thinking, what if that didn't happen? Like, would we be having family meals and all of that stuff?
Right. And then we see, and I think we see Big Nueng go through that, especially with the song stuff and the grandmother stuff later, when it's too late and she's thinking, what if? Yeah, she's going to be plagued with these what ifs forever. And I think she really doesn't want little Nueng to have any of that. She wants her to be much more freer and preserve these relationships while she still can. And I think that's part of what this birthday was supposed to be. But little Nueng is not in the right headspace for that. And she's also like, this day's about me, and you guys made it all about each other. And, like, I think Big Nueng was like, that was not my intention. But anyway. Okay. So anyway, like, that's a good intro to what's going on now. So basically, Big Nueng's like, great, I'm going to go make her hate me. So she pulls little Nueng aside, and they have a conversation. It's a really good conversation, and talks about a lot of the shit I just talked about. So I'll try to abbreviate where I can. So Big Nueng's like, all right, I got to make her hate me. So she's all, like, ready to do this. And then she pulls little Nueng aside and notices that little Nueng is really upset. So she can't even get into it. She's like, what's wrong? And at first, little Nueng doesn't really answer her. And it's really heartbreaking that Nueng follows this up and she's like, hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm genuinely asking what is wrong. Because I think that she thinks the way she framed it, little Nueng is being scolded for not having a good time. And she's like, no, I'm genuinely asking you what's wrong. Like, why are you upset? I want to know. Again, the first person all day to ask her a direct question about how she's feeling about any of this is the person who's supposed to make her hate her, which is insane.
Because she also has gotten a lot of stuff dropped on her.
No, absolutely. So little Nueng's like, where do I even start? This was a shit show from all day. She's like, first of all, I'm upset that you lied to me because you're trying to push me to go to America with my mom. Yeah, I know about that. My mom, remember the person I told you is a stranger and somebody I hate, and now the person I trust most is like, hey, go into her custody. So that's great. Then let's talk about the fact that Chet, the man you almost married and who's still chasing you, is apparently my father. Right. So she's like, I don't even know how to process that. My competition, the dude I also hate because he's flirting with you in front of me, is now my biological father. Cool. Then we have to deal with the fact that you, Big Nueng, set me up on a blind date with Folk, a strange man I hit in the face with a door once. And you're clearly trying to set me up with him. So she's like, this is a lot for her. She's like, you just threw all this shit at me, and then you're like, go have a good happy birthday. Like, that's a lot, okay? But the thing she's truly most upset about, yeah, that's all that drama, the whiteboard of drama they just went over. What Little Nueng is most upset about is that she can see that Big Nueng is actively pushing her away and not fighting for her. That's what she's upset about. She's upset that Big Nueng is suddenly acting like everybody else in her life and making decisions for her, not with her, like Nueng used to. And Big Nueng is doing this on her birthday of all days. That's what she's really upset about. Which is a super valid thing to be upset about. And that clicks for Nueng, okay? And Big Nueng's like, she says, I was good intentioned, I promise. And she tries to rationalize what her thought process was by explaining, basically she's like, I was thinking about your feelings. Not in the present moment, but in the future, like I went over earlier. So I'll skip all of this. And because this is a constant conflict of ideologies between the two of them that will come up over and over and over again. It's like happiness now versus happiness later. And how do we bridge the gap? And wrong show, but how do we bridge that gap and find middle ground, a compromise, right? Okay. But little Nueng is not ready to hear all that. It's her birthday. And she's like, gets to the crux of the matter. And she's like, don't you feel what I feel? And I'm glad that she says this. She's like, do you feel anything at all for me, the way I feel things about you? Because I think she's like, if you did, you would understand that I want to be with you. I want to have fun with you. And you're pushing me away, and that hurts. You would understand how that makes me feel. And when she poses this question, like, don't you feel anything? You can see it on Faye's face, the way like Nueng is battling with this question, because really, like I keep saying, a war is waging internally in her between being selfish, meaning doing what she wants no matter the cost, versus being selfless, which is thinking about how her actions affect other people. And this whole day was about Nueng trying to take the selfless route. So she keeps saying, think about your parents, think about your grandma, think about your future. Like she says it to little Nueng in this conversation. And, she evades that question of like, how do you feel? And she gives little Nueng one last chance to like opt out of this. She's like, I'm trying to be selfless. I'm trying to do what's best for you. Like, I'm going to ultimately leave the decision to you. She basically was like, it doesn't matter what I feel. It doesn't matter what I think. You feel and think whatever you want. But ultimately you have to this is all up to you. What you want to do is up to you, right? And she says it to her because I think Nueng, the translation is basically like, Big Nueng is like, I want you to make up your own mind about what you want. And she's afraid, Big Nueng, if she's honest about how she feels, that's going to sway little Nueng's decision into picking her. And she'd rather that little Nueng consider all of her options first because her future's right ahead of her. She's not wrong in her thinking, but I think she wants to present it to little Nueng and be like, I want you to come to the conclusion of like what you want, because I don't want you to regret your decision later. I think Big Nueng is like, I don't want you to regret choosing me, is really what she's afraid of. And that's why she's kind of like, I'm the outsider in all of this. I have no influence to like really tell you what to do. Your parent, think about the people who are inside your group, inside your family kind of thing. People who are worthy of influencing your decision. That's the other thing she's really saying here. But Little Nueng counters with the only argument that matters, which is Big Nueng is the only person who's consistently there for her. And she's like, you're the one that never leaves me. These people showed up out of the blue. I don't even know them. So I value your opinion more because you are here. We are having a conversation like human beings. You treat me like a human being. You're always there for me. You stick up for me. She's seen Big Nueng stick up for her without being told to do it. And Big Nueng is the only person in her life who isn't actively trying to control her. She's the only person that cares about how she feels. And that is the thing that matters to Little Nueng. But Big Nueng is persistent because she's like, I want you to be 100,000,000% sure about this. You need to know everything about me, including the fact that I'm a terrible person. So if you're really going to choose me. And so that's when she brings up the miscarriage stuff where she's like, I'm the reason you almost weren't even here. And this breaks Little Nueng's heart when she says this. And it's not because Little Nueng at this point knows the truth. Okay? And so I thought this was weird the first couple times I watched this. I'm like, why is she getting so upset about this line? Because Little Nueng knows this is bullshit, actually. Big Nueng believes it. Little Nueng's like, I know this isn't true. And I think the reason she's upset is because she thinks that Big Nueng is lying about this to push her away. And the fact that she's lying to her face is what's so painful. Because I think Little Nueng is like, wow, you're so desperate to get rid of me that you would stoop to saying this. Because her follow-up to this is, why are you so mean? Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took me a while to figure out that's what they're actually talking about.
But like damn. She knew that that her mom told her a lie. So why does she think that Big Nueng is lying right now?
Well, because Big Nueng doesn't know about the lie. Little Nueng tells her after this part of the conversation that was all bullshit. So Big Nueng truly believes, I almost killed you. And Little Nueng already overheard the conversation with Pingfa and the mother. So I think she's like, I can't believe you would even throw this in my face. This thing that isn't even true, right? You're so desperate to get rid of me that you're going to say this to me right now. Even if you think it's true, it's terrible.
I'm wondering if maybe she overheard the make my daughter hate you, something like that. And like, that's what she's like, you just want me to hate you right now.
Yeah, she can see very clearly what she's doing. Yeah. So she's just like, wow, you're going to stoop to all the lengths to push me away. That's how mean you are. And so, like Little Nueng is very over this argument. And she asks her, why do you keep pushing me? Like, why are you doing this? Why am I always the one who's fighting to be with you? Like, why can't you fight with me? Why is it this is always a one-sided thing with us? Why? And once again, Nueng ignores the question because in her mind, she is fighting for Little Nueng's future, not the present, the future. And instead of answering the question, she asks, why don't you hate me? I just told you this really horrible thing. And here you are, and you still don't hate me. Like, why? Because what Nueng is also doing is trying to show, like, I'm not a perfect person the way everybody thinks I am. Look at these horrible things that I did. And Little Nueng does not judge her one bit, ever. She's not judging her for the action. She's just like, why are you telling me this to hurt me? I don't understand why you would try and hurt me with this. It's not, why did you do a bad thing? Why are you trying to hurt me with this knowledge, I guess. So Big Nueng is like, again, why don't you hate me? And Little Nueng's like, I love you. How could I hate you? Basically. And to Big Nueng, I think that's such a big revelation that, like, here's somebody who just, like, genuinely loves her no matter what. Literally no matter what. And Little Nueng follows it with also I was eavesdropping, so I understand this is a big lie that my mother told you or whatever, and my mom's a piece of shit. Like I told you, she's a piece of shit. So, and I think in this moment, with the line of like, I really do love you. Like, I'm not saying what the youth say or whatever the fuck you think is going on. Like, I'm being genuine and sincere when I keep saying this to you. I think that's Big Nung's breaking point, because at this point it's impossible for her to ignore what's right in front of her. It's impossible for her to ignore how Little Nung feels and how she feels, and the fact that she has somebody here who's saying exactly what she means. She's not being coy or playing some weird game, whatever. And I think that Big Nung on some level always knew that, but it's terrifying because she's never met anybody who was like that before. And then here she is trying to get this person to hate her so she'll never see her again. And I think that Nung, like Sam, remember in Gap? Sam would never fight for Mon unless she was actively losing Mon from her life. That's what's happening here. So Big Nung is on the cusp of actively losing Little Nung and having her potentially hate her for real. And I think the thought of Little Nung disappearing for real is the thing that scares her the most. So that's what motivates Nung to be direct and honest, and selfish, where she tells Little Nung how she actually feels. And this is a pattern that they fall into for kind of like the rest of the show as well. So in this moment, she does fight for her and basically says like exactly everything Little Nung wanted to hear. So to me, this was like Big Nung's declaration of love, where she says basically like, I'm not going to let you go. I want you to stay. And that's all Little Nung wanted. She's like, yes, somebody who the person who I love wants me or whatever. And so she's so moved that she like hugs Big Nung, not in the middle of a crowded room. They're actually like, but it's this big moment of confirmation for Little Nung that like Big Nung cares. This isn't one-sided, right? And she is, when push comes to shove, like Big Nung is willing to fight for her, which is like the bigger thing. And from Nung's point of view, like this is a big moment of like acceptance for her that this is worth fighting for, despite the risks and all the collateral damage that could happen. So it's like a very big moment. And I think it actually is the turning point for Little Nung's birthday party.
Yeah, like best birthday present ever, right?
This is the best present. And having Big Nung essentially be like, I care and I want to fight for you. Like, yeah, that is what she wanted for her birthday, truly.
And that's where the episode ends.
And that is where it ends.
It is. This episode that we're doing right now has been very long.
Wait till we get to 201. That is my Roman Empire, that episode.
Oh, Theora has been working so hard on 201.
That is my Roman Empire. I love that episode. This one's good. Their conversations here are very, very good, especially the one at the end. But yeah.
I like the murder board of it all.
It is an episode you're never ready for. It just keeps getting wilder and wilder. So before we sign off from episode 104, do you have any final thoughts?
I do. So I have a Taylor Swift song for this episode, and it's Never Grow Up, because that is what the parents hear when they look at Little Nung.
That's a good one. Mine is from Pingfa's point of view, which is, I think it's called Revenge. There's nothing I do better than revenge, because this was just her big revenge plot that's been 20 years in the making. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh,
and it kind of worked. It fucked up everything for a while.
Oh, Mastermind, because, like, literally Pingfa, like, she's just manipulating everything right now.
I know, but that's such a Little Nung song, though. I guess it works for both of them. So, yeah.
In the good sense of it, it's Little Nung. In the bad sense of it, it's Pingfa.
Little Nung has it, but it's not always a good thing when Little Nung does it. We'll get to that in season 2. So anyway.
Oh, God, yeah.
So that's our final thoughts. We already gave out the Big Energy Award. Yeah. So what's your secret word, Kaitlynn?
Yeah, okay. So if you made it this far in the episode, we want to know. We have a challenge. Use the word that I'm about to give you either in a comment or review without looking up the meaning or spelling of this word. And try to use it naturally. Don't just, like, input the word. Okay, so today's word is gobbledygook. Gobbledygook. Something like that.
Gobbledygook. Okay, good luck with that, dear listeners at home. Have fun with that word. And Next time we'll be back to talk about season 1, episode 5. We're almost done with season 1, so there's that. But, you know, as with every episode of Blank, until next time, keep hydrating. You're going to need to hydrate a lot for Lesbian Jesus going forward.
For Faye.
And Yoko. All of them.
Yes. And gay up all over the place.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.